Hey, everybody. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for coming back to the show tonight. We have our one of our recurring guests on the show is what he's becoming. It's kind of funny because we're having him on quite often.
This is his third time, right?
To it every time. Yeah, and it's fun, so we enjoy it. We're going to keep having him back as long as he'll have us. Please welcome Lee Byron Carver.
G'day everyone, I'm the man called Kim Asabi, the man with the plan from the land down under. Boys, I'll keep coming back for as long as you can put up with me. I love this format. This is exactly what I wanted streaming to be, and a lot of it seems to be, like, you know, Dean and I, we do like the cringe cast sort of stuff. We're doing all the cringe, and other people do outrage, and then you got all these different shows doing, but this is just positive. This is just like, hey, here's these characters we love. Here's what's going on with them. Here's the version of them we love the best, and here's why. And when you got a bunch of just three hairy dudes getting together and talking about what they love, I mean, that's good TV right there. I love this format. I'll be back every time.
Oh yeah.
Well, Derek,
that's great, man. We love having you on.
Derek,
I did cut my beard off.
This in the back.
Look, I didn't want to say anything. I wasn't going to shame you, bro.
It's No Shave November.
I'm doing No Shame Life. No Shave Life. Look at that.
Yeah. It's looking good, man.
Yeah.
It's looking good.
Thank you. Yeah. I'm just embracing the Old Testament.
We got some people in the chat. We have Joseph Murphy in the chat. Hello. We got Mo Biggs. Hello, Mo.
G'day,
Crazy Mad's in the house.
Crazy Mad, my boy.
Right.
Mo Biggs. It's a very positive show. I'm just here to balance it out. Look, if you got Mo Biggs turning up to your show, you're doing all right. Okay, he's like
That's
the
right.
fourth musketeer, as the unsung MVP of the show. He always brings the
That's
goods.
right. We love having Mo. Well, tonight we want to just show a few things. I'm going to share the screen here. I did some artwork to fix a page, and I put it out on Twitter, but I'm going to put it up here on the channel too, just so people see what we're doing. We went back through the book a little bit, saw some art that needed fixed. You know, I hand inked everything, and it's my first time inking. So whenever we went back and looked, we just found some things that we weren't very happy with, and this is one of them. So I'll show you right now. So did some work on Zune. She's our female character. Let me zoom in here. Yeah, it was looking kind of rough. Face was not looking as smooth as I wanted it to be, that's for sure. And the hair, her arm was a little too muscly. She looks like she's got a man arm right there.
That's funny. I never realized that about the arm. It's funny things you can look at 1,000 times and not realize it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when you zoom out, it's not really that bad. It's just, you know, it's our
big
personal
improvement
preferences.
though, brother. Big improvement. I saw this on Twitter when you posted. I was really impressed because it takes it takes a certain level of I mean, that's just night and day that level up there, but it takes a certain level of a lack of hubris to go, you know what, I can do that better and go back to it. Like I think it's Jack Kirby was famously quoted for saying, I'm paid to draw, not to erase. And that's why sometimes some stuff would slip into his work that wasn't quite kosher. But I like the fact that you're going back and you bring in the back as the best product that you can. That's the sort of thing it's gonna lead to success. It's gonna lead to return customers.
Yeah, I'm happy with it, man. And as soon as I did it, I was like, yeah, we have to do this. And we've actually, what is this? The third panel we've done with her. Is that right, Kevin?
Oh, redoing her face?
Yeah. Because I did another one.
This would be the third page that we changed her face a bit. Yeah.
In fact, I didn't post the other panel up. We don't have to do it right now. We can show it again later. But yeah, it's the third panel. It's just, you know, to be honest, I'm not great at drawing women. It's probably my weakest point. And so whenever I drew this, I just have to get better at it. And I am getting better. And I'm starting to get her character down more where she's looking consistent every panel. And so, yeah, it's just one of those things artists have to go through. So
that's something I point out when I do my reviews. If characters are consistent and they're easily recognizable from page to page, that's the thing I point out and say, hey, that's a good thing. Oh, good stuff's here. G'day, good stuff.
Yeah, hey, good stuff.
He's doing some great stuff with his show. Go check
it out. We other night.
Yeah, I saw.
We were laughing hysterically. It was great.
We just got to say one thing. Fug and bow. That's what we got to say. We came up with that on that show. Fug and Bow.
I love the in jokes of the CGC.
So, oh, me too, man. Me too. So, yeah, there it is side by side, just so everybody can see it one last time, then we'll get off of here. Then the final thing that we did, I did this recently. This is a character that'll be making a short appearance in our first issue.
Yeah.
And this was hand drawn by me. And I colored it with some not as good markers as I wanted, but it came out pretty good with the grayscale. So I was really happy. So, yeah, it's fun to do. I love to freehand some stuff every now and then, and sometimes I'll do digital. I don't know, it's really weird. I feel like I'm going back and forth between digital and pencil.
I don't think that's uncommon. Even for myself, who doesn't do a lot of art anymore, there's advantages to both, and I find myself flip-flopping between the two of them. And some days I think, man, it's just so much easier to have the page in front of you, and you got that tactile feeling of the page under the graphite. And I've got so much more control when I do it traditional. And then you make a mistake or something doesn't go right, or you want to try something different. You think, man, if this was digital, I could just hit a few buttons and change this and change that and add a filter and add a layer and that sort of thing. So there's definitely plus and minuses for two of them.
Hope that's not me.
It's you.
Yeah.
And
it's me.
You got to find that.
Here we go again, man. I got to fight this every damn time.
I remember Ryan Otley.
Hopefully we won't have this every damn time. I'm trying to make it better.
Hopefully. The guy who did the art on Invincible, he'd do his breakdowns digitally, print them out, ink them and traditionally, and then scan that back in for digital cleanup. Like, to me, that just seemed like a lot of extra work. But I mean, that was his workflow. That's the process, and that's how he managed to get a book out on time every month. With, I mean, Ryan Otley, he's one of my top 10. Like, he's a fantastic artist. So you just got to find your process, man, your workflow. Once you've got it, you'll be right. Then you'll just have that productivity boost.
I have seen where there is like a tablet you can draw on that feels like paper.
Yeah.
And then it goes digital, but it's like very expensive. It's one of those newer things that I think down the road everyone will have, just because, like you said, you still feel like you're drawing like you usually do, but it's going on the computer as you're doing it. So it's
definitely. It's
I've been interested to give one of those a go.
Yeah, it's still a long ways off, but I feel like it's getting there. And the more I use it, the better I'm getting at digital. So I'm really coming to a good middle between the two, and that's what I want. I want to be able to be hybrid because I want all the tools at my disposal. I don't want to just be using pencil. If I mess up, I want to be able to go digital and totally, nail it. So
you have to imagine how it was for like colorists that were coloring in the 80s and then got computers where you get all the colors in the world to use. That had to be great for them. We
also see there's that era of comics where for about, like 5 years or so, all the colors were just flat color with a cookie cutter tool, and then they used the burn and dodge tools, and that's all they didn't know. They didn't know about, like, if you want to color your blues darker, you put an opposing color, or you just go for a darker blue or even a purple, depending on what your reflected light source is. They're just like, okay, well, that part of Spider-Man's leg is in the shadow, so let's use the burn tool on that. That part's in the light, obviously, so we'll use the dodge tool, and it looked really bad, really powdery. There's like about 5 years there where the coloring was really bad because they were transitioning from traditional flats through to, and you look at what we do with digital colors now. There's been a bunch of books I've reviewed that I'm like, if you look at this, actually the coloring is doing so much of the heavy lifting. The artwork itself is really simple. The colorist has gone all in to add so much weight and shape and dimensionality by where he's placed the colors and the depth and the tones and that sort of stuff. Felix House is here. G'day, Felix.
Yeah, hey, Felix.
Hey, Felix.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because I do feel like you can see in a lot of comics now where the original art is either thin, not very detailed, because they're just letting the colorists do everything.
Yeah, because we've got a lot of this art now that's almost like I don't know if any of you guys went to art school or whatever, but you do like your what do you call it, when you just do the outside shape and you just you pick it like silhouette, like negative space type stuff. A lot of the stuff I'm seeing now is just these. It almost feels like they get the 3D model, they pose them where they want, they do like the outline and the basics to show this is where they begin and this is where they end, and then they chuck it over to the colorist to do the rest of the work. I'm like, I don't know, can you even call yourself an artist at that point? I feel like they're leaning too heavily on the digital, and the results are we get this I know your boy refers to it as the crash landing procedure manual you get on a plane, that really simple, flat, childish advertising style artwork you get. It was like, when the emergency light goes on and you got these people smiling in terror as the plane crash. A lot of Marvel comics are looking like that these days. You don't have, I saw something that Dan Frager recently, and he put up just some sketch of some dude's physique from the neck down. It was just covered in Sylvester-like detail. I'm like, I can't think of the last time I saw that in a comic outside of the indies, outside of CG. So the digitals lent itself to this whole trend of minimalist art style that Murph's talking about. I'm not a fan.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I'm not always a fan either. To me, if you're a minimalist, it's got to be a natural thing. I always think of things as organic. We had my band on last week, and one thing we always talk about why we stand out different than the other bands, because there's a dime a dozen bands, right? Is that we're an organic band. Our music is organically created. We play organically off of each other. We don't have anything that's fake about anything that we do or processed. I mean, we have a keyboard, but it's played live. We play off of each other and in the moment. And then we'll repeat that live, but we still form the song that way. And it creates something different every time, instead of this format that's been all over the radio for the last 50 years,
And you could almost say, like, people talk about the energy of working in the Marvel bullpen, where all these guys, like one guy's doing the pencils over, and in the next table over, the dude's doing the inks, and these guys are all feeding off each other, as opposed to like my artist is in Brazil, and then if the colorist is somewhere else, and the ink is somewhere else, and the writer somewhere else, and these digital files are bouncing around the world. It's very sterile. It's very methodical. It's very much per page sort of thing. There's no back and forth there. I mean, Kelso's great because he'll take my script and he'll embellish, do some great stuff with it. Same with Dio on the colors. He had some fantastic color effects. It just makes a whole page pop and stand out. But these guys are working in a vacuum. I can't imagine how good the product would be if we were all working in a similar space, able to bounce ideas off each other. As long as you've got, I suppose this is a problem with making comics, isn't it? As long as you've got functional individuals, it's like, well, we're comic creators. I mean, how functional we are is highly debatable. I mean, I'm okay with some of these other fellas.
Yeah. Well, Murph and I keep talking about, eventually, I think what we want to do is have our own small bullpen like that. If we grow enough, we want to be able to hire some artists. What'd you say?
Yeah, we want a consistent team. Like, I don't want to find a person for this. It would be nice to. I know it's like almost impossible when you think of it long term, but yeah.
All these projects I got coming out, I want Dean and Kelso to draw all of them, but there's only one of each. So I either have only two projects going at once, or I've got to hit up someone else and say, hey, I like what you're doing. Are you free for some work? I know, like Mike Oden, he's got like 11 projects going at the moment.
That's
like
crazy,
11 different books. He's just an absolute. Every time he talks to me, he's like, "Oh, Lee, I've got this new idea." I'm like, "Here we go." And by the time he gets to it, I'm like, "That's a banger. That's a great. I would pay money for that. You got to make that happen. What are you doing? Get onto it."
Right.
So yeah, to have that consistent team, you could have a consistent team on the same book. Kelso said that he's happy to do Company Men all the way through to issue 12, the end of the stuff I've already got written, which is like 4 years worth of Company Men stories. That's great. And once he's done there, I'd love to grab him for something else. The crazy man says, "Did you get colored pages, Kimo?" Not yet. He promised they're coming through today. I got an email, a Facebook communicate, and he said today is the day they're coming through. So after 5 days of 5 days of dodging, it looks like I might actually get them, which should be great.
That's awesome.
He did say this week, announced tomorrow.
I love it, Mo.
I don't know what Mo means by that comment. That's completely over my head.
To really capture the spirit of exposure, they're in the middle of a field. He's talking about exposure, and remind my crew what they're doing this for.
It's the true artists work for exposure.
He's being in the middle of the field. Is that the joke?
Well, true artists work for exposure. So, yeah,
Look, I can't pay you money, but I can pay you an exposure.
That's right. We'll put you out in the middle of the field. Okay. I love it. Yeah. No, but eventually I think we would love to have our own stable of creators. And, it's just what you're talking about. It's because when you're around each other, you sharpen each other. You keep each other on your toes. You get everybody excited. It's, it plays off of itself and keeps growing You know what I mean? And I think that's why Image was so successful early on, because they were hungry for that. You know, they had that hunger. So, well, you guys want to get down to it?
Sure.
So I put a crappy Wolverine picture up on our thumbnail. I mean, it looks cool, but it's I hate the metal blades glowing. I hate that whole thing.
Yeah, I don't know why.
But doesn't that just kick off the whole topic?
It does,
like,
though.
It's such a perfect picture for what we're talking about.
It does. And that's why weird. I really did it.
Because his claws are made of not the greatest metal, but the toughest metal of mankind. So it's like, what's the point of making them hot? He can claw through. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh, there's something he can't claw against, but now that they're heated, even story-wise, it's just it's pure just for looking cool. It doesn't matter.
It's pure for editorial edict, because they didn't want him severing arms and have blood everywhere, so they gave him essentially lightsabers for claws. So then if he does take an arm off, it's all cauterized. Same reason that he lost drinking his alcohol and smoking his cigars.
That's true.
Even though if anybody could have a cigar a day habit, it'd be Wolverine, but they took that off him.
I think it's the Mutant Massacre. They did a reprint of the omnibus.
Yeah, and they took
all the new one that's the same picture of him in the front with all of them, if you know what I'm talking about. And he doesn't have the cigarette in his mouth. Yeah, it's not there anymore.
Yeah,
I think that could almost
it just waters it down.
It's like editorial edict is what any changes we talk about in this show. We're going to say, gee, I'm disappointed they did that to the character. You'll be able to go back and point to an editor saying this either keeps us out of trouble or this is money. We think this is money, and they're so off base with that. All the changes that happen because somebody above the writer tells them to do that, or the writer comes in and this is what they don't get. If you come in and you change something, and you change that character, it changes all the stories that came before it. And some people argue, you've still got those stories. You can just go read them and don't worry about what happened next. But by retroactively making Captain America a Nazi, you've impacted, stories that were around for longer than you've been alive. And there's a lot of hubris there. There's a lot of, it's arrogant to go in and make those sort of big changes without regard to what happened before. And I think probably the X-Men, with their complicated storylines and really deep lore and history, some of the characters that have taken the biggest beating on this sort of thing. There's few groups that have had more retcons, undo, redo, bad ideas forgotten and sidelined. Like Wolverine's claws don't even do the heat thing anymore. Like they just sort of forgot about it. They just decided, well, maybe
it was a very short period. It wasn't that, because I don't think it was cool, and I just don't think it, because honestly, it's cooler having blood all over him.
Yes,
it
is.
That's kind of part of its thing. That's, So
well, I mean, that's part of the mystique of Wolverine.
You took a rated R movie and tried to make it PG. It's not going to work.
Isn't that Marvel? Isn't that everything Marvel's doing right now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Taking everything that works. Man. Yeah, I mean, you think about Wolverine, you think like early Mark Silvestri stuff, you think John Byrne, you think Frank Miller. Whenever we drew him, he's got arrows sticking out of him, he's all cut up, his mask is shredded, he's covered in blood. Like that's just the savage Wolverine. That's who he is. Yeah. And they want to wipe all that, and they want to make him like, I don't know, DILF daddy, granddad, wannabe, old man. They take all the cool out of stuff and they PG-13 it, but at the same time they like sexualize everything and infantilize everything.
Yeah.
Dojo Kun.
Well, I agree with that.
They haven't done anything sexual to him so far.
Dojo?
So. Well, they made him gay with Hercules.
Wait, what?
Him and Hercules is that panel of them making out after they slew the
What?
Wolverine
and Hercules aren't gay.
They were gay together. It was an alt timeline, but
wait.
They planted the seeds for Wolverine being bi. The idea that he's this burly, hairy, manly man that's been around for 100 and something years, that he doesn't care what you got between your legs because he's just attracted to the person within. So after him and Hercules slay this Godzilla-sized monster, him and Hercules decided to literally get it on top of this dead monster's corpse in the middle of like Manhattan or something.
What book was that in?
Somebody in the chat will know. It's up on Twitter all the time. You see it all the time. Like I wouldn't come on here and lie to you guys. Like it's an alternate timeline.
I don't think you're lying.
Like some Exiles type shit.
I just haven't heard. I haven't heard it. I have to see it, man. That's crazy.
Well, it wouldn't be as big as Superman, but still, you think that would have been.
Yeah,
I think people are just used to seeing shit, man. They don't care anymore.
For making things canon. If you've got a gay Wolverine, or if you've got a bi Wolverine that's canon somewhere in some universe,
yeah,
you can say there's potential for that to happen here as well. If one Wolverine's bi, why not all of them are bi? You know, if there's infinite universes somewhere, there's got to be a gay version of you out there somewhere. This sort of mentality. So this is like I'm saying, they take all the cool out of stuff and they reduce it as PG-13 kid mentality. But then strangely, they sexualize everything and worry about what they do with the genitals. It's like, well, I mean, I remember this old. Harvey Kurtzman, one of those old school dudes that used to do like Mad Magazine cartoons, and it was is this like Captain America jumping, throwing the shield, knocking out bad guys, blocking bullets, back flipping. It's all really simple, cartoony, like I said, Mad Magazine. And then in the last panel, he's asleep in the bed while his missus is there in a lingerie, like really disenfranchised, really upset, really grumpy that her Superman, her hero, has got no stamina left to have sex with her because he's off fighting the bad guys. It was sort of like it wasn't disrespectful or cheeky. It was just like a sort of poke in the eye sort of thing, you know. I remember seeing that when I was a kid and thinking, you know, that's weird because I never considered Captain America in like terms of his relationships or what his, you know, sexual orientation, the amount of people he's had sex with. Like Wolverine is, thanks Dojo. Wolverine's more sexual in that he's been around for a long time, and part of his character is that he's this ugly little smelly runt that just pulls women like crazy. I remember in the Greg Rucka run, this like DEA agent chased him across America just to jump on it, and she goes to this bar looking for him, and he's like, and the bartender's like, here's another girl, you're gorgeous, and you're here completely thunderstruck by this hairy smelly little runt, and you're going to go and sleep. He goes, I don't get it. I've been his friend for 30 years. I don't get it. Every woman that comes in here says, have you heard of this Logan fella? Yes, he lives up there. Go fuck him and get out of my bar. You know, like he knows where it's going to end up. That's part of Wolverine's, you know, manly mystique. But he's a very different character.
Never like James Bond. Like he had a lot of friendships with female characters where he did a lot of like either training them and help, like not just Kitty, but Jubilee. You know, there was the thing with Rogue, like, you know what I mean? He's always kind of been that like lovingly grandfather because of his age.
Yeah, and I like that aspect of it. I like when they play up that aspect. What I don't like is how I feel like they're trying to sexualize it into this whole like DILF category. And I suppose I blame Hugh Jackman for that a little bit. But like,
there you go, Kevin. There you go.
I never considered. There you go. There you go. Open it. Hey, thanks, Mo's the legend. What a legend. Mo.
Thanks, Mo, man. You did it.
There you go. Kevin's out. He's had enough.
No,
Kevin, man, he's like ready to go jump off a ledge, man.
No, but with Wolverine,
you just broke Kevin's heart.
I'm telling you this: if he was bi, he wouldn't be into Hercules. He'd be into like the Punisher. I can see
that. Clipping that. I'm so clipping that.
You know what I mean? Like Ghost Rider.
Yeah, but Punisher couldn't manhandle Wolverine.
I think
Hercules could manhandle Wolverine.
I think Hercules could do it. It's canon bi. Like in the stories now, like all those Greek dudes, they were all basically bi, you know. So they all had like male lovers. I remember reading Michael Oden's Elysium Fields, and in it Achilles is explicitly gay, and I'm like, that's right, he had I forgot about that because the movie glosses it over. They couldn't have a gay Brad Pitt, so they pretended it never happened. They pretended that he was straight and that his lover was just like his protege or his cousin or something. It's like, I forgot about that. So props to Michael Oden for going all the way with that.
Hercules was never, I mean, even outside of Marvel, Hercules was never gay though, not in Greek stories.
I'm pretty sure he had gay lovers. Look at Dojoku says Hercules.
Yeah, I mean,
leg up.
Yeah, he has his leg up. But I mean, that's, you know, in Greece, they always talk about how a lot of that, you know, everybody was pretty, what do you call that? Where you're just kind of ebbing and flowing with your sexuality.
Yeah,
that's
they didn't consider it a bad thing. They it was just a thing. It was just done. I remember the Spartacus TV show, and the best fighter they had in there was this big, like, I don't know, Samoan Islander looking dude. He's like 8 foot tall, and he's just straight up gay. It's just this huge jack dude that's the best fighter.
Has won the best comment tonight so
far. Yeah, that was pretty good, Crazy Man. Yeah, gender fluid. That's what I meant.
I mean, I think it's just seen as a preference. Like there wasn't that people weren't as negative about it. Like it's still seen as like a really negative thing in a lot of ways these days.
Once again, I'm not bothered that he would be gay. I don't like that they feel like they have to change him. That's the problem. I want my characters to be consistent.
Yeah, and consistency is the key.
Yeah, I mean,
but there are definitely characters that it doesn't make sense. Like there are even with Iceman, I was like, you know, I could see it just because of how much he was like a womanizer and things, that maybe he was holding something back from himself. So maybe, but Wolverine, no, that's not. There's certain it's just not like.
Well, Jojo was saying about like how Wolverine exudes testosterone. That's the thing. Like he's not traditionally a good-looking dude, but he walks in the room and nearly every woman in the room's like, "Who's Snap? Who's that dude?" I don't like, and they don't even. I'm sure, and they're not even going like, he's 5'3", looks like Danny DeVito on roids, but I want to jump on that. Like he's got that animal charisma. Like they love that.
Yeah, he does.
That's always been part of his thing. And then, like Murph was saying, he can turn it off when he's doing the grandfatherly thing, and he's able to train and support and help and mentor younger female characters, which has always been integral. It's been integral to his character for probably longer than I've been alive. So you can't deny. But when you're saying about consistency, that's the thing. If Iceman had been turned gay, or if they'd just done the easy thing and said bye, and then let him sort of work his way towards it. If he'd stayed the same character, and he's like, you know what, guys, for all these times I was womanizing and stuff, but really I think I was just the reason I jumped from woman to woman. I wasn't happy with the people because I realized now that I was really blokes I was after. If they'd done that and he stayed the same person, but like Zach's pointed out in the videos, if you guys watched any of his review videos on Cena Grace's Iceman, he become like this. Like I'm offended. I don't even know a gay person in gay life. I don't even know a gay person in real life, and I'm still offended by Cena Grace's rendition of Iceman as a gay man. Like he's every campy Priscilla Queen of the Desert, limp-wristed drag queen.
I think that's the problem too.
That's what's drag queen too. So he's not just
I know
gay.
I know people who are, and they're not any of those stereotypes at all. They're just normal people, and that's what I would rather see. I mean, why can't we see that?
Well, that's see a normal person. Writing, all the SWA writing, it almost makes fun of the LGBT community. Honestly,
it distorts
it. It's really done well.
Stereotypes it, distorts it. Yeah, you're right.
I'm surprised they don't see it. I'm surprised that more of them don't see it and say, hey, you're making fun of us and that's not cool. You're claiming to be an ally, and here you are poking fun at us, taking the very worst stereotypes and magnifying them, not representing us properly. You claim to be for us and with us and on our side and one of us, and yet when you get a position of power, you pull our legs out from under us. You knock the, I'm surprised more people don't say that sort of thing to them.
Oh, yeah. So let me call this up. Oh, I'm on the wrong page, I think. Thought I was there with the logo. I guess I'm on the wrong page.
I've done that.
Let me stop sharing that. I had a logo up, but I'll have to get over to that. So let me get to it and see if I can get to it.
Yeah, that is funny with the Iceman thing. Like, you think he would have been like, oh, I'm in the year 2000 now and not in 1960s, but it was literally like Jean Grey's like, I just read your mind, you're gay. All these years that I've read your mind, I've never seen it.
Yeah, that's right.
But now.
And if you don't know it, is it there in your mind to be read? What that sounds to me like is she went into his mind, saw a bunch of circumstances and situations and perspectives, put them all together from her perspective, which is a very biased perspective. And she goes, you know what? A guy that does A, B, C, D, and E, he must be gay. I'm just going to tell him he's gay and like unlock his gayness like it's a Dragon Ball power up. I've unlocked the gay within you. You can now use 100% if you're gay.
Yeah,
it doesn't work like that.
It was probably the first time he ever saw Wolverine, and he's like, okay, but he's not gay because Wolverine is so alpha, He's like, that's an alpha man.
And this is what I'm saying about this bloke from, it's a good point, isn't it? The guy from Spartacus, he's the best fighter in the entire Gladiator dojo. He's like 8 foot tall, absolutely jacked. He wins every fight. As soon as he finishes his fight, he comes and gets rubbed down from his toy boy and takes him back to his cage, to like his Gladiator cage apartment thing in the dungeon, and has gay sex with him, and nobody's like, or whatever his name is, whatever a cuss, because every name ends in cuss, is not masculine because he has sex with a guy. He's not masculine because he's gay. That he's the best fighter they got. Everyone's glad that he's on their side. They respect him. If they don't fear him, they respect him. If they respect, and he's this chill dude that just turns up, wins a fight. I want to see, if I have to see gay characters in media, I want to see someone that's like super efficient, super competent, really good at what they do, and then it just so happens they're gay. And I know you guys have heard this before.
Yeah, no, it's exactly what I think everybody wants to see. That we want to see a real person. That's the whole thing. It's a real person. It's not a stereotype or some made up bullshit. We want to see if they want real representation, they need to put the real people in there. You know,
well, look at Walking Dead with Aaron and Jesus. They're both badass guys.
Yeah.
That are gay, but you don't even. Yeah. That's not the first thing I think of. Like that's not. You know, it is important to them because when they lose a loved one,
it's still part of who they are.
Yeah, they're not feminine at all, and not every gay guy's feminine.
Right.
I think you really touched on something there, Murph, because when we look at a character, a male character that's popular, I mean, look at them. They're all tough guys. They're big, tough guys. Wolverine's like the toughest dude out there. Punisher just eats bullets for breakfast. Like all these superheroes that we admire and look up to, James Bond even, physically competent, mentally competent, combat capable. All they're like, man, I wish I could be a bad mother like those guys. If you have that guy and then he turns around and is gay in his own time, it doesn't impact on his ability to be competent and capable, all the stuff that we, because that's what we look up to. I don't look up at someone and goes, man, that dude is so straight, man. I want to be as straight as that. Like, I don't care about that. I care about, I want to do backflips like that guy. I want to be able to take on 10 ninjas in a fight and win like that guy.
Yes.
But when they make them gay, they seem to attach all this baggage, this campy drag queen type baggage onto these guys.
Yes.
And then there's nothing to respect there. You take away their competence, you take away their capability. Like Iceman was an Omega level mutant.
Yeah,
I suppose he still technically is. I mean, he's done some big stuff, and and now the sum of his accomplishments is his first kiss or his first whatever they do after that.
Yeah, or he'll break up with somebody, or
I'm
telling you, I guarantee you, when Iceman gets in the MCU, they're gonna make him and Human Torch gay, and they're gonna be best friends with Spider-Man, and you're gonna have like fire and ice. I guarantee it's going to happen.
As opposed to Johnny Storm, who it should be. And notice they're trying to push for a bi Spider-Man. They're pushing for a bi Johnny, and they've already pushed Iceman into being gay. Like, they're constantly trying to push the sexuality and move the Overton window on these characters. Like, if sexuality is not scale, what is it? From one side to the other, like a scale? Yeah. Like
a scale? Kind of.
Spectrum.
Spectrum. There you go.
If sexuality is a spectrum, these guys are never happy with where it is. They always want to push it further and further towards the gay side of things. And this is what I was talking about, I think, with Dean yesterday on the show. I was saying how, as a white man, I'm not allowed to write black characters because I haven't had the experiences that make a black character essentially black. There's certain things they live through. And they're sort of saying that they're no bigger or better than those experiences. And if you haven't had those experiences, they're not as black, they're not as gay, they're not as whatever. The idea that to be a gay character, you have to have had a certain amount of certain experiences or live through certain things, that takes away all the other great things they could do. They could say, here's the gay glass ceiling. You will never be more than your first kiss, your first boyfriend, your, like Kev said, like your big breakup with what, that puts a limit on these characters. And this is what everyone's saying. Make the characters first. Then just look what Zach did. He made Devil Dog, and then I'm pretty sure just on a whim, he was looking and he goes, hold on. Kids are fighting. Be right back.
That's all right. Hey, so while he's making while he's tending to his family, let's look at this, Murph. We got the X-Men 97 reboot.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? What did you think? I mean, it's exciting on the surface, right?
I would have been super excited for this if this was 5 years ago when Fox still owned the X-Men. I don't care about this now because I care about the MCU movies. Like, will I watch it? Yeah. But again, I'm looking forward to the live action stuff. And I'm a little worried because the head person about this is supposedly a big like SJW. So, what are we gonna?
I heard some stuff. Yeah, Shane Davis had some things on his streams about it. Didn't get to watch that, so I wasn't real sure how that worked.
Yeah, I haven't seen that yet either.
I know they've said some things. Yeah, they were talking about fans and things, and it's just not cool. So, to me, I'm not that excited about it, but I will give it a chance. I give everything a chance. People said certain things about Eternals being woke. I didn't get that out
not
of
at
it.
all.
Maybe some people saw that it was, but I didn't get that it was woke.
Really?
If you consider it's woke, it's how woke should be, honestly.
Okay. That's an interesting. I haven't seen it.
Great. I made Derek go see it.
I actually liked it, man. Yeah.
Well, because I saw it just to see it. because there was a new trailer that really looked actiony, and I was like, maybe it is pretty. And I went and I loved it, and I'm like, am I crazy? Because it's getting terrible reviews. So I made Derek go see it. I could see it a second time to see if I was, because people were saying it's so long. And again, the second time I watched it, it doesn't feel like 2.5 hours.
It didn't feel long to me. Yeah. I mean, when I watched the movie, I was looking for things and I was thinking, oh gosh, here we go. What are they going to do? But I didn't feel like anything was shoved in our face.
They could have, because they talk.
They easily could have.
They talk about humanity learning, and they talk about like guns and how what they do. Technology. But there's even a scene where there's a character that his thing is supposed to be. He's kind of like Cyborg, where he can invent things, and he's there at what's the place in Japan? Hiroshima, where the nukes go off, and he's crying, and he's talking about mankind learning more of these is more destruction.
Well, he's crying because he gave them that technology.
Yeah, but he learned though too, with war you get better medicine and better science. And so he's like, there's that parallel where they could easily be preachy and like humans bad, nuclear bombs. But to me, that was surprising that he was like, no, I still.
Yeah, they weren't anti-guns at all.
Yeah, which they easily could have if they wanted to.
Yeah. Now there were some problems. Like I didn't understand why the one girl is deaf. She's this godlike person.
She's Speed, so they could have said she popped her eardrums or something running. Or
that just don't make sense to me, though. I mean, if you have a character made for Speed, she should be made for it. So she wouldn't pop her eardrums. It just doesn't make sense. That's the only problem I have. But once again, I don't feel like it was focused on that much.
No.
And I felt like they worked with the character very well. Her character
didn't suffer from that.
Yeah, it didn't bother me that much.
Except for when she points to her watch for time in 5000 BC, where they don't have watches.
Exactly. Yes, I saw that. I pointed that out first time through. I was like, wait a minute, they don't even know what a watch is. So, but the only thing, there was some cool scenes. Like there's a scene where the Celestial comes and looks over the Earth, and it looks like one of those Galactus moments, from the old Fantastic Four stuff. And I thought, holy shit, they made that work, Whereas in the other Fantastic Four movie, they made him a big cloud of smoke and they didn't know how to make it work. So in this movie, they did. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. So you get to see really cool visuals. So that was nice. I mean, I don't know. I just maybe it's because my expectations were low for the movie, too. You know what I mean? I don't know much about the Eternals. So just going in raw, I thought it was good.
And it's good to see on the big screen because you get that. These creatures that are bigger than Earth, like you really feel that when you see the Celestials. It's
there you go. See, Dojo. He said the Eternals can control their bodies to the molecular level. Sorry, and she could correct it. So that's what I'm saying. Well, I think
in this story,
it feels like they could have fixed it.
You can't do that. Should we say spoilers?
No, don't do that.
Okay.
No, Bancroft, Galactus is not in the Eternals. Thanks for stopping by the way.
No, he's not. But
no.
There's a scene where there's an Eternal.
You just see a Celestial
next to the Earth, so you can see his face like in the clouds, and it doesn't look CGI. Like I don't know how they did it because you don't even have a reference for it, and it's a classic
comic book movie, scene, which I thought was cool. So
it gives me hope that Galactus can be seen in a future Fantastic Four movie or something. That'd be
that's what I thought.
Screen. And we've seen so many great Galactus redesigns. There's so many CGI artists and indie artists and stuff that have taken Kirby's design and just sort of teched it up a little bit. That makes it look really modern and believable. I mean, that's the great thing about Kirby's stuff is it was extreme to the point of nearly being ridiculous. But now we're on the other side of it in this postmodern sort of sphere. You realize it's like I've talked about with Dean a couple of times. Rick and Morty, and the alien names like the Glip Glops and stuff. I was like, that sounds dumb. It doesn't sound cool. But if you're going to have stuff that's so totally removed from what we do here on Earth, like you wouldn't say, I've got a Phoenix class craft or a Banshee speed biker or something. It's like, well, they don't have a word for Banshee. They don't have an alien equivalent of a Banshee. If they're like silicone-based life forms, Glip-Glops as legitimate as calling them the Karathians or some made-up BS name, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like it's a bit the same with Kirby stuff. Like, people go, that's ridiculous. And you're like, yes, it's from a completely different culture that's based on, it's not even carbon-based. It's like so completely different. Why wouldn't they have something that's this different, this exaggerated? Like, Kirby was just, I don't know if the dude did drugs or whatever, like some DMT or some mushrooms. He was tapping into some next level stuff. I mean, there's people that aren't even doing what he's doing. And I'm not even just talking about like his proportions, but his design sense, the layers and the details and stuff like that.
You imagine he was alive today with the technology we have.
I got to be honest, you know, as a drummer, the more you drum, the more fluid you get and fluent in your sticking patterns. And I think it's the same thing with drawing. I mean, that guy drew so much. He was filling a page with so much detail and so much, you know, it was almost effortless for him at that point. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think he was just on another level at that point, because when you draw that much,
not wrong.
It's just flow, man.
Another time I've taken off and been writing instead of drawing, my drawings regressed. And I sit down to do something and get frustrated because I'm not able to draw at the level I was before I started writing more fully. But at the same time, my writing's gotten so much better, and it's that opportunity cost, that trade-off.
Yeah, Michael Bancroft says, Galactus, Kang, or the Beyonder are pretty much the only thing that could get me interested in the MCU going forward. Maybe a good Doom.
Oh, what about that last night? Apocalypse. Like, if you do him for real,
Apocalypse would be cool.
Kind of going back to the X-Men '97, Derek. I loved his voice in the cartoon. Apocalypse, when he would talk, that was great.
Yeah, I liked it too. I agree, though. A good Doom could turn it all around. For me, Kang the Conqueror sounds cool, but man, Doom, if they nail him, wow. You know, I think they nailed Thanos as good as it could get. I don't know.
I think they made him better than what he was in the comics.
I don't know. A lot of people have issue with him, but Doom, man, he's like, for me, he's my favorite Marvel bad guy. And if they can nail him, then they'll be back in the good graces. So, yeah, and the Beyonder. And my favorite comic is when Doom gets shredded in Secret Wars fighting the Beyonder.
Spoilers.
So, that's not a spoiler?
Yeah.
That's old, dude. That's 80s.
Like 40 years ago, but see, people might not have read it.
Whatever, man. And drawn by one of my favorite artists, Mike Zeck.
Yeah, Magneto is one of the best bad guys ever created. Like, he's got years of story. Like, he really.
Yeah, I love Magneto too.
Where Fox did a good job on Magneto. They really did.
Yeah, the younger Magneto, I think, was great. You know?
You're gonna say Ian McKellen isn't great?
I think he's okay, but I didn't like him old. I gotta admit, in the comics, to me, I never thought of Magneto as an old man. I thought of him as
he's old the majority of the time.
No, I think of him as younger. He's not as young as the other X-Men, but he's not as old as Xavier to me. Xavier always seemed older to me.
Not like maybe
that's what it always felt like. Maybe I'm wrong.
Magneto, they made him young, but he was old, dude, the whole time.
He always felt like he was like in his 40s to 50s. That's younger than, you know.
How could you think that when he was a kid and like the 30s?
Because of the way Jim Lee and them drew him, man. He was not
They did
old.
de-age him. Jim Lee, he is younger.
Right.
But I'm saying, like, the big Chris Claremont Magneto was always older.
Yeah, I agree.
Big bad needs to be equivalent.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Well, I think Apocalypse can go beyond Thanos. Don't you?
Maybe.
I mean, Doom definitely can.
I don't know, man.
Doom
I'm ready. I'm just ready to bring Doom in no matter what. We've seen the other bad guys. We haven't seen a really good Doom yet. So, and that's a good point. Dojo says Magneto is a preteen in Auschwitz. So, yeah, it does make him older. I know. Patrick Stewart looked like he was 80 when he was 40. That's true. He looks the same now. He's just a little more wrinkly. Yeah. So I agree with you on that, man. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this reboot with the X-Men '97, man, like
well, it's not a reboot, you know, they're just continuing it, right?
It's like a continuance. I'm going to call it a reboot though, because no matter how hard they're going to try, I doubt it's going to have the same feel as the original. Well, and if they do, man, that'll be great, but I don't see it happening.
the series ended with Professor X going to space and Magneto taking over the X-Men.
Yeah,
that's how it ended. So they're going to.
We'll see if that's where they pick up.
I'm guessing, right? Magneto's going to be leading them.
Hell if I know. I just don't think it's going to be what it's cracked up to be. I know a lot of people, I think they think they're pleasing a lot of fans, but I think a lot of fans are going to be very upset. And then they're just going to come back and say, well, it's the fans' fault. You know, the fans are assholes anyway. You can't ever please them. And the truth is, we just want some of the same old shit we grew up with. So it's really easy to please us.
That's why even when you ask me, I mean, the X-Men comics are still better than that cartoon. Like, it was a good cartoon, but they're not as good. The characters aren't as good there as they are in the comics.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, Aardvark Creations. Welcome to the show, by the way. Thanks for stopping by. I think I agree with this. Could you not have Magneto be the survivor of the Bosnian Wars, genocides, etc., or some version of that took place in the MCU like Sokovia? Yeah, I agree, man. Great way to add it into the story.
Don't they kind of have to? Like,
I mean, it would be able to de-age him at that point, bring him up to speed. I mean, I think you have to do that a little bit. I think there's a lot of ways they can do it. It's neat to tie Magneto into the World War II.
Oh yeah.
But I think there's been. Yeah, go ahead.
It's a great play on the whole hating mutants for who they are.
Sure. Well, and that, you know, just even the play off of the Nazis and everything and the hatred that came out of that. So it makes sense. But yeah, it's getting too far away from our timeline now. I mean, here we are, 2021, man. And damn, it's becoming what is it? 80 years since World War II.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So that's a long time. I saw today the Jubilee voice actor won't return. She wants an Asian American to take her place.
Oh, come on.
Huh. Interesting. Is that appropriation? Is that what she's afraid of?
She's afraid of people trying to cancel her, so it's a smart move on her part.
Probably for her, yeah. It just kind of sucks, you know.
It does suck. I mean,
cryogenically frozen, like Walt Disney. I mean, like Captain America, really. You could do that, I guess. So yeah, I don't know.
Everything I thought they were going to do with bringing the mutants in the MCU hasn't happened, so I have no idea how.
Well, I don't know. I mean, the thing is with the X-Men, there's so much hinging on getting these characters right. I mean, they're, to me, the classic X-Men, and this is what we were wanting to talk about. When I brought up the X-Men 97 cartoon coming back on, to me, the modern take of the X-Men is not the X-Men that we grew up with. They've changed them so much. The X-Men that we grew up with reading in the 80s and 90s were very diverse in their own right, but they didn't have to make it about diversity. They were just automatically diverse. I
like the fact that you could have white men that aren't all the same, like a Russian, a Canadian, and an Irish are different people. Not just because they're white and men make them the same person.
Well, yeah, but their masculinity came out and their femininity came out, I think. And, you know...
well, yeah, Colossus was an artist, so he did have a gentler soul.
Yeah.
You know
well,
I mean?
look at Aurora Monroe, man. Storm. Yeah. She's a great character.
Great.
Nobody cared. I mean, she was a black, strong character, and guess what? She didn't have to tout that because she was badass.
She led them when she didn't even have powers. Like, that's how badass she was.
Yeah, right. And that's the stuff I'm talking about. I mean, like, these characters were cool. There was an edge to them. There was a mystique about them that carried into all the cultures. Because I remember, like, skater culture growing up in the, late 80s to early 90s. Skater culture came up around that time for me. And, well, yeah. And, that was my generation. And so we had a true alternative culture coming up. It was very counterculture. These, not only was music that way, but you still had comic books. The X-Men was this thing. It was a big thing at that point, and it was cool to be into the X-Men.
They were Marvel's tentpole for a good, like, probably 10, 15 years, bigger than Spider-Man or Fantastic Four for a period.
Yeah, I agree. You remember this? I love the Acts of Vengeance arc where all the big bads switched enemies.
Yeah, that was great. Like Magneto, and I think, doesn't Magneto and Doom fight because of that? Because, oh man, I'm trying to think who did. Because like the Green Goblin might have went against like Ghost Rider and.
Right.
I do remember it, but now I'm forgetting.
I don't remember it.
Who. Yeah, that was the plan. They all got together, and Magneto's like, well, instead of fighting the X-Men, I'll fight Fantastic Four. And Doom's like, well, I'll fight it's just so the teams, and it kind of worked. The interesting thing is they kind of used that story for Old Man Logan, where Mysterio got Wolverine to kill all the X-Men because he thought he was killing all of their enemies.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Yeah, you love that? I love that comment too. That's why I left it up. I thought it was cool.
Oh,
okay. So Dojo corrected you. No, Magneto and Red Skull had a problem. I had problems due to Red Skull's politics.
Okay, it wasn't Doom. And Magneto like beat the crap out of Red Skull.
Avril Lavigne saw my interview. Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Avril
Counterculture at its best. I wouldn't say Avril Lavigne is a counterculture person, though. She's one of the wannabes. Yeah, I wish Chemo would come back. We got into some of the stuff I wish he would talk about because I really love it. But for me, I think my favorite part of the X-Men was the core group, keeping the core. I would consider Storm. I would.
To me, when I think
even Colossus.
Yeah, I think of Wolverine, Storms, Colossus, Nightcrawler, Cyclops.
Yep. Nightcrawler, Cyclops,
Jean, Beast,
Wolverine, Jean. Yeah, and then Beast sprinkled in there too, man. You got to have Beast in there because I just think he's fantastic.
He's there for the Phoenix Saga, Beast.
Yeah. Yeah. And now they're changing him to look too much like a cat. I really hate it.
Yeah, I don't know why.
I mean that's an artistic choice, but still.
They've changed his look a couple times, but that's by far the worst. Like, he just looks like a big cat that ate too much. Like, they didn't even make him look cool. Like, you could have, you could have made him look like a tiger or something.
I think that's too much, though. I really like it's almost got that Wolverine look where he's got the horn hair,
Yeah, in the 80s.
Yeah. And for me, that's the classic Beast. And they did a pretty decent job of his look, even though the movie sucked. In X3, I thought they did a great job. That was a great cast with
that was a great cast.
Fraser cast as the Beast. That was a great cast. He sounded and acted just like the Beast.
He really did.
Perfect.
But to me, shitty
movie though.
I want them to do Jim Lee, and I want him to be fully CGI'd. I want him to be CGI'd, huge, like the 90s Jim Lee Beast.
Don't forget Grant Morrison had EVS draw Beast shitting in a giant kitty litter box.
Wait, what?
Oh my gosh.
When did that happen?
Oh man, I'm telling you.
Is there a picture of that? Is that
I don't know. Yeah, Aardvark, if you could send us a link, that'd be great. I'd love to see that. I don't think I saw that.
I can't even see Beast doing that. Like,
you shouldn't see Beast doing that.
No, but you know what I mean? Like, he's like,
oh, that's too good. Oh, yeah, you don't want to see a big hairy man taking a shit.
Remember when Deadpool said that?
Nobody wants to see that.
Deadpool yelled in, he said, "Tell Beast to stop shitting on my lawn."
Yeah, I love it, man. Oh. Well, I hope everything's okay with Lee there. He's been gone for a little while.
No, you have kids. Sometimes you just got to spend minutes beating them till they listen, right? It's just
yeah. I'll have to. I'll add him to the stream when he comes back. But yeah, man. I mean, I didn't want to have to take up the whole stream just talking about that. But I mean, for me, these characters are characters we love, and now we don't even recognize them hardly, you know? And it's really sad for me. I mean, you know, I know it's sad for a lot of people now. And I just hope that this cartoon has a shred of, like, just, you know, some of the memories that we keep, you know, of those characters. I hope they're able to keep it. I think one of the original directors of the cartoon is getting to be in there and work in the cartoon. And if that's true, maybe we'll get a shred of that, you know, the history, but we'll see what happens.
Well, I think what was so great about the cartoon is you had that whole
Sorry about that.
On X-Men. Like it was one of those first cartoons where things always continued. You know, like you watch the Batman cartoon was great, but each episode was itself. Where the X-Men kept building.
Sometimes Batman would have like 2 episodes, part 1, part 2. Yeah. But X-Men, like you're saying, it was a whole season, and they had a theme for each season. Stuff that happened in season 3 mattered in season 5. It was adult storytelling, mature storytelling for kids. And that's what we redefined how I look at cartoon television. It's still the greatest of all time. And I'm not even the biggest X-Men fan, but it's still the best animated series of all time.
There's still time for you. There's still hope, Lee.
I don't know, man. Oh my gosh. Now, Chemo, I don't know, man. I feel like Batman, the animated series, is the best animated series. That's just me. I know it got goofy towards the end, but
I mean, it's great.
I was gonna say I don't think it aged quite as well as the X-Men animated series.
Yeah,
but if you want to talk about if you
I
want to
think
talk
you're
about
right.
What had a cultural impact and stuff, the visual influence that the Batman animated series had, coupled with Burton's, redefined Batman. And we're still feeling it today. And to a lot of people, that's the ideal Batman. So in terms of cultural significance, I would say probably Batman's the greater series in terms of what aged better and what probably still. I mean, there's some of those Batman episodes are absolute bangers. They're so good. Like that, Almost Got Him, where they're all sitting around talking about the times they nearly beat him. Yeah. And the whole time it was Batman undercover the whole. That's primo. That's still great. So good. Yeah. So good. You know.
So you know, that's what I thought was the animated series had the definitive take on Batman for me.
And you got Harley Quinn because of that.
That's true.
Yeah, that's true too. She is a good character. Okay,
and
so
I think what I liked about the animated series is you had Batman not just dealing with these great enemies, but he would deal with why can't I think of the word? You know, like in Batman Begins. What are they called? The Italians.
Like the mafia.
The mob.
Yeah,
mafia.
The mob.
Yeah.
Which is great. I love with Batman dealing with the mob.
Yeah, I like that too. Likewise. Man. It's fun. So Dojo's talking about She-Hulk. He said, I did see that they're relaunching the She-Hulk series. She looks like she's going to revert to how she was before.
Yeah.
That'll be good, man. I hope they keep true to the character. I really do.
And if there's anybody, like you talk about abusive relationships, if there's anybody who's a master of abusive relationships, it's comic book fans. Like we will put up with the worst runs, the worst redefining of a character, and then when it's all said and done, they tie it up with a little bow, kick it off into the volcano, and they just start fresh all over again. Like, and we've learned to deal with that. When you pick up when Dojo-kun picks up She-Hulk issue number 1, and Jen Walters is back to her regular svelte form, and she's being on character, on point She-Hulk. I'm not going to say he'll forgive everything that came before, but you can exhale and you can, okay, that was a bad idea. It's done. It's out of the way. I never have to think about it again. I can focus on what came before. I can focus on what I have now.
But I agree.
But then when they talk about, you know, bending and breaking character, somehow they still didn't manage to break She-Hulk. I guess because she's so unique and she's such a strong character in herself that despite everything they did with her, Brian's going to be able to just go, you know what? I've just shifted straight back into classic She-Hulk mode. Off we go. You can, I don't know. They're saying about being a comic book fan, you just accept that your characters are going to do dumb, awful, stupid shit, and just go. That was 1993. It's done. We're on 1994. Clone Saga. I mean, I love Ben Reilly. I love Ben Reilly. He's such a great character. And I'm glad we got Ben Reilly out of that. And I don't even think the Clone Saga was bad. I think it was just too many cooks.
It was too much. I agree with that.
It's 4 omnibuses to collect that whole story.
Yeah, I bought the whole thing.
Ridiculous.
I bought the whole thing from the newsagent as a kid. $2.50 an issue.
Now, I don't know. Aardvark, wasn't there a character in the X-Men Evolution?
Yeah, I replied to this comment.
Okay, did you?
Yeah.
I don't know that.
Bring it up. Bring up my quote.
Oh, it's X-23? Really?
Yeah, his daughter.
Oh, there you go. That's the Harlequin.
Evolution. before.
I didn't know that.
Comics.
I never saw Revolution. I only ever saw bits and pieces of it.
It's
looking
good.
through the channels and that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, and then thoughts on the She-Hulk actress for Disney Plus. She's a good actress. Seems like she'll be okay, but we'll see. I don't know, man. I probably wouldn't have picked her.
Has there been a casting for the MCU that you haven't liked? I can't think of any.
Tom Holland?
Not much.
Are you serious?
Wait, who?
I hate him.
Why do you hate Tom Holland?
Because he's Tom Holland.
Can you kick Lee? Can you kick Lee off right now? Get rid of this guy.
Hey, man, no, that's some of the fun. I'm okay if we disagree with that shit. I mean, he doesn't have to love him.
Wait. So in the last 5 minutes, we got Lee that Ben Reilly is cool and Tom Holland is not.
That's what you're getting.
Man, I don't know.
I wouldn't lie to you guys.
Yeah, I'm okay with that, man. I mean, not everybody's going to hit. Sure, I thought the guy that they cast as Bruce Banner, what's his name, Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah.
I didn't like him as much, but then I saw how they put the Hulk into him, or him into the Hulk. I mean, in the face, and I was like, he's really great. Like it comes off really great as the Hulk.
Yep.
So
I can get me too.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, yeah, I love it. I really do love it. But
yeah, because I'm a
big that's why I'm like
Norton fan. I really like Edward Norton. It sucks that this
didn't work out. But he was a terrible Hulk, man. He really was. I just think he was. I don't think he was a good Hulk.
He's sad Hulk all the time.
I like the actress they got for She-Hulk. I was disappointed that because I also heard that Rosie Diaz from Brooklyn Nine-Nine was being considered to play her.
Oh wow!
I thought and I couldn't tell you what her real name was. And then also that the chick from that Glow, the female lady wrestler show, she was also being considered.
Oh,
for the
from
role.
Community.
China?
What's her name?
Oh,
one with the big eyes.
Yes.
Well, the funny thing is, with casting, they said they wanted someone like her.
Yeah.
but
you know what I mean? They didn't go get her. You imagine being an actor like. We want someone like Brad Pitt, but no, not Brad Pitt.
He's like, but I'm here, guys. I could do the work. Like, I'll even bring my rates down. I was in Snatch. I don't mind. Now, somebody well, I mean, that's the thing. Robert Downey Jr. sort of, I think he shifted the way people think about casting. Like he redefined
definitely.
Tony Stark. Tony Stark now takes visual cues off Robert Downey Jr.
Yes.
He's
bigger. He's bigger than the character.
I said China. Yeah, she was She-Hulk in the porn period. I forgot about that. I did know she did that.
That is hilarious.
I saw a picture of her as the She-Hulk.
Allison Brie, yes.
Yeah, that's the girl.
There you go. Yeah. I think she would have done a really good the whole idea of the She-Hulk was that she was maybe neurotic, not as competent, not as capable, not able to live in the now. And She-Hulk obviously is all of those things. She's boom larger than life. She's sexual. She's aware of it. I think Alison Brie could have played a really good repressed, kind of like the blonde one in the last Wonder Woman movie. Yeah, she's just a bit of a screw up, dropping things, tripping over, bumping into. Alison Brie could have been a good female Clark Kent.
Yeah.
And then when she transforms into She-Hulk, you've seen her in that Glow show where she goes from being mousy little so-and-so to being like this big wrestler personality. She could have done the big, boom, here I am, knocking down walls. Hey, fellas, what's going on? As they shoot her with machine gun fire and she's like making titty jokes. Like she could do both. I think she would have been a really good choice. But nobody listens to me.
Right.
Well, after that time,
I think you're right about
Holland remarked they're right.
I don't agree with you about Tom Holland, but that's okay, man.
I like the second Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield. I liked him. I liked his Spider-Man. I don't know why people hated it.
I'm not a fan.
I thought he's a great high school Peter Parker.
Who? Garfield?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm still a big Toby fan though. Like for me, Toby.
Me too.
Toby's my Spider-Man, and I know that he's maybe not as traditionally Peter Parker, but like he was the first to do a really good job of it on the screen. I mean, in live action, Spider-Man only been done the live action telemovies in the 60s or 70s where he's fighting ninjas, and that was when he's a photographer working at the Daily Planet. They didn't have the whole high school aspect. So to see Tobey Maguire grow as Spider-Man from a high school kid into a young man with responsibilities, problems, relationships, getting married to MJ and that sort of stuff, that So it's probably not fair to say, Tobey Maguire is my favorite Spider-Man when he had 3 movies and chance to grow in a critical part of all of our lives when we're a bit younger. I mean, these movies are 20 years old now. I was just getting out of high school 20 years ago. Compared to, say, Tom Holland, who he's, I mean, maybe
like 7 movies, though.
I don't know about that. I think they could do it, but yeah, I mean, I
don't like Tobey Maguire, so.
Oh yeah, I know. I do. I really do.
To me,
that's my kid's Spider-Man
reminds me of Luke Skywalker when he's just this like whiny, just Luke isn't cool to Return.
That's impossible.
Yeah,
that part.
You know what I mean? Like even when Toby's being goth Spider-Man with dancing and punching his girlfriend in the face, he still doesn't even come bad up. He just oh, you're gonna cry. Like he still comes off like just a creep. Just this whiny creep. He comes off
now, if I'm gonna lose subs now, Chemo, I might have to kick you, man. If I'm gonna lose subs,
I'm not.
That's where I draw the line.
There's so much talk about Tom Holland, not the negative talk. It's just there's any talk at all about Tom Holland.
Yeah.
If we just move away from the Tom Holland altogether.
Yes, we should. Let's get back to the X-Men.
Yeah, sure.
That's what we were talking about.
I mean, you could talk about the casting of the X-Men in the movies because there's been some hits and misses there.
Well, I was wanting to talk about the characters a little bit. We were talking about Aurora Monroe, and
because of the '97 cartoon. I'm really not looking forward to it because I'm looking forward to the MCU characters. That's what I want to see.
You guys talked about how the original voice actress for Jubilee is not going to reprise the role because she thinks it needs to go to an Asian American.
Yes. And that's
in Asian American, the second part of that phrase is American. Like if you're American and female, you've got 2 out of 3 qualifiers to be a voice actress for Jubilee. I mean, isn't pushing for 3 out of 3 a little bit much?
Of course it is. I think it is. I hate that crap.
Like you were saying,
I think it's kind of sad that that's what people look at now.
What you're saying, writing, you can't write for other cultures. Like if I can only write what I know, our stories are going to be about a guy watching football, eating cheese puffs. I mean, that's
it's true, man. I agree with that.
Tolkien didn't have any experience in war. Well, that's not true. He did fight in war, but he had no experience with a hobbit or an elf or a goblin. How dare him say stuff about orcs like that? He doesn't know what happened to orcs.
Yeah.
Well, they say write what you know, but they also say a good writer can write anything. If you do your research, if you talk to people that are from that era, from that time, from that part, and if it's something that doesn't exist, like orcs and goblins and stuff, then you can write whatever you want. He took his real life battle experiences. I mean, he was in the trenches of the Somme, and he took those experiences and transposed them into a fantasy world. I think Murph's pointing out how ridiculous it is for people to point to him and say, you can't write about these things that don't exist. He's like, I can only write about these things because they don't exist, because I'm defining them. You know? The fact that I can't write Prowler, for example, one of my favorite black characters, is just ridiculous because they're saying that I've never been observant. I've never seen what other people go through. I don't have any sort of empathy to understand what somebody else is going through because they've got a higher melanin count than me. That's a really ludicrous point to take, but they have to take that because if they couldn't discredit talented, established writers, a lot of these guys have been writing characters for a long, long time. They're not getting any work anymore because they're like, well, you're not the right ethnicity subgroup progressive stack. You don't tick the right boxes, so you can't. They don't want to be up against Scott Lobdell and Howard Stern, Roger Stern and Kurt Busiek. They don't want to be going up against these guys that have been writing for 50 years, 40 years of comics and created classic characters that we know and love. You think Vita Iola would be able to get work over these guys if it wasn't for the progressive stack? It's absolutely a weapon that they're using against us. So and then with the. Talking about Aurora Monroe, again, that cartoon defined how a lot of people see her. Like a lot of people's majority experience are with the Storm off that cartoon, and that cartoon defined a whole bunch of characters for people.
Rogue.
It did.
Rogue and Gambit, I think.
I mean, who doesn't hear their voices when you're reading the X-Men comics? Who doesn't hear
I hear
voices?
Rogues all the time.
I hear Beast, man. I hear Beast all the time. He's stuck with me so much. And that's why I said Frasier was such a perfect cast.
I really think they should get Frasier again, just do CGI, and he does the...
Yeah, CGI is good enough now. They can do that.
Yeah, I love it.
Beast needs to be at least as big as an ape, maybe even bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you're going to do him right, do the Jim Lee Beast, where he's just huge, man.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think they said CGI Nightcrawler. I don't think a human can really, if you're going to really make him look how he looks, there's not a human being that can look that way unless you get Christian Bale when he was skinny with those rib bones and stuff. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I don't know. I just
didn't look great in the second X-Men movie.
No,
it looked alright at the time, but in retrospect, I'm looking at it going, like, anytime you put skin color, even that She-Hulk trailer that we saw, the green on her didn't look particularly good. It looked like a green filter over top. I don't know what they're going to do to make it look right, to really believe. Even like Gamora in the Guardians of the Galaxy movie still just looks like Zoe, whatever her name is, with like a green filter or green paint on her. Even though
I don't.
I thought so.
Can we kick Murph? Can we kick Murph?
Yeah, let's kick him. Let's kick him out. I'm totally good with that, man.
No, wait, though. She-Hulk isn't CGI'd? They're just painting her green? They have to CGI her, right?
Oh, I don't know, man. I just did a trailer. Did you see the trailer? Yeah, I was going to say Gambit's voice, Gambit and Cyclops and Wolverine.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to list the whole cast now, aren't I? Every Magneto, Apocalypse.
Well, even Wolverine, he's done that voice in a bunch of video games, like a lot. Like,
and then I think Steve Blum, who also does Wolverine's voice a lot. His Wolverine, I think, draws a lot upon that original Wolverine from the cartoon. Like his rendition, I don't think would exist without the cartoon version existing beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree.
I honestly wish they would do Pride of the X-Men. You know that cartoon? There was one episode.
Yep. With Australian Wolverine.
Yeah, Australia. That's the funniest thing ever. It's an Australian Wolverine. Like, that's where you think the Matrix is real. All the way back then, you have an Australian Wolverine, and then Hugh Jackman becomes him. But even, because to me, you had Dazzler in it too. Like, that just would have been cool. Kitty,
Colossus,
Storm, Colossus, Nightcrawler, Wolverine, and Dazzler.
Cyclops with a condom head.
Yeah.
Intense Webs. Hey, thanks for dropping by, man. Greetings from Houston. Nice.
As an Australian, it was always surreal for decades in Hollywood. Every Australian character had a South African accent. It's like none of us sound like that, including Australian Wolverine. Like Australian Wolverine got like some dude from South Africa. I don't know why there's no Australians going abroad until the 90s or something. But I haven't heard a genuine. The first and most genuine Australian accent I ever heard in a major Hollywood thing actually was, funnily enough, Robert Downey Jr. pretending to be not Kurt. Pretending to be not. Who played Gladiator? Russell Crowe.
Russell Crowe. Yeah.
Robert Downey Jr. pretending to be not Russell Crowe, pretending to be the black guy. And like when he takes out his contacts and takes off his wig. Blue. Yeah, and they put him up into the helicopter and he says a couple of things in Australian. I'm like, that's the most Australian accent I've ever heard in a Hollywood movie. Even Captain Boomerang didn't even sound Australian in Suicide Squad. I don't know how they managed to get it wrong. There's so many of us.
Is he English? Is the guy who played him English?
Who's that?
Yeah.
The guy who played Captain Boomerang. Is he an English guy?
Jai Courtney, he's Australian.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he just didn't sound very Australian. He didn't have a lot of speaking. I think they must. There's like an idea of what Americans think Australia sounds like. And it doesn't sound like this. Yeah. Like I don't sound like what you. If you ask someone to say do an Australian accent, it wouldn't sound much like me. But I hear American accents all the time. So you guys sound like me to me because I'm so used to hearing an American accent.
Wait a minute.
That's funny.
Say Foster's. It's Australian for beer.
No. I mean, I'll say it, but Foster's is garbage. Nobody drinks it here. You can't even find Foster's in Australia.
Right.
No,
I knew that.
Because to me, that commercials always made me think that's how Australians.
All right, I'll say it. Foster's is Australian for beer.
Oh man, my mind just like melted.
Yeah.
Because that's what I think.
It's kind of sad though, because
most what Americans think, right?
Mm.
Right?
I mean, I'm not mad about it. I just think it's funny that it took an American playing an Australian playing an American to get a good Australian accent out of Hollywood.
Whose fault is it?
It's awesome.
I want to say Crocodile Dundee.
Oh,
yeah.
You know, but if you look at the old G.I. Joe cartoons, anytime there was an Australian bad guy or whatever with the mustache and the hat with the thing tipped up to the side there, the slouch hat, he'd be always like, "Yeah, g'day, cobber. We're gonna go over here." And we don't talk like that. That's not a thing.
They just had that for the Mortal Kombat movie. That's how that guy sounds. Kano.
Yeah, it's the stereotype, man. They got to go with that. The caricature.
I'm not saying it's not people that don't sound like that if the further west you go away from the coast, but it's not a broad representation of real Australian accents. Anyway, it's not I'm not angry about it. It's fine. It's fine, guys. Right. It doesn't matter. It's okay. We can talk about something else now.
Okay.
Head's on fire.
Each one being played by Tilda Swinton, a Korean American actress, got worked up in a seethe because they got a white woman to play a Tibetan man.
Wait, yeah. There's too much in this comment.
I remember that happening.
Yeah, I thought it was a weird choice.
It was a weird choice.
Like, I like her and she does a good job for the roles that she does, but I don't see that. Like, what did they get out of making her a female character? Is it ticking the right number of boxes? I mean, essentially whitewashing a character in that regard. Was it the dynamic of her being female and capable and the master to his mentee type thing, where she's pushing around, beating him up, and that's a woman over a man type thing? Like, what? I don't know what goes through these people's heads, how subconscious it is. I can't help but be critical. You know, they like super critical about everything, and they postmodernism everything. They pick everything apart. Yeah. I can't help but do that in reverse now. They put something in front of me, like, okay, what's the wokey agenda with this thing? What are they trying to do? What are they trying to say, even implicitly? If they're going to say everything we say is a dog whistle, it works the other way around. Like, what are you trying to say when you put a white woman with blonde hair and blue eyes in a master servant position over top of Doctor Strange? You know, like, in replacing an Asian character, there's stuff at work there. So what are you guys trying to say? You put it back on them. Not because I'm trying to win points with
Kevin Feige regrets casting her. He said that. And it's like,
yeah,
dude,
she definitely she did the job. She was great in Constantine. She absolutely owned in Constantine. That was such a good role for her. I just spent like the first 30 minutes of the movie trying to work out whether she's male or female, which is what you want in an angel, isn't it?
Yeah. The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, man. She was the White Queen. I thought she was great.
Makes sense, yeah. I mean, she's the sort of person that'll always have work because there's always those sort of ambiguous roles.
Yep. But, you know, I can't say that on the surface I was bothered watching her, but knowing what the character was,
I don't know what we're talking about.
I don't know why they did it. So,
what movie are we talking about?
We're talking about Strange with her as the Ancient One.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we were.
So,
never mind.
Yeah, I mean, it was a weird cast, but I don't know. I mean, you know, it didn't bother. You know, that's one of those things. It's where if something does happen like that, do I get all up in arms and throw a fit and, you know, cry about it? And I don't know. Don't do the same thing that a lot of the SJW people do just because things don't go our way.
If it works, then it's okay. It's good enough.
Yeah.
Like there's been plenty of race and gender swaps that have just worked and didn't matter a lot. Like people talking about the woman in June that was a bloke, the doctor was a bloke, and they made it a woman. It didn't change the story for me. It's been ages since I haven't read June since I was in high school. Didn't really matter to me. She still did the same job. She got the characters where they needed to be. That's not. She was nobody's favorite character when he was a man. Nobody's like, oh, Dr. Pack or whatever. It was like nobody's tripping over themselves. Duncan, Idaho, I can see people getting mad if he didn't look the way that they thought he would look because he's a fairly major character and he's a bit of a boss. Right. That's cool. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, well, even think about it. What was it, like 50 years ago where Peter Pan was played by a female actress?
Mm-hmm.
Remember that? And that worked.
And then the Shakespearean days where all roles were played by men. Juliet was played by men.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's funny. I mean, I grew up with watching the female play Peter Pan.
Yeah, I remember.
You know, it's the way it worked.
I remember being a kid, and Monkey Magic, Tripitaka was played by a woman. And I remember being a kid going, "This something going on there. That's a very pretty boy."
Yeah,
there's something. I remember being like 8 years old, going, "Steady on."
Okay, so Dojo says, "I thought Michael Clark Duncan was great as Kingpin." I actually have to disagree.
Perfect.
With this. I hated him as Kingpin. I got to be honest. Yeah.
I mean, he's not as good as what's his name, the new guy.
No, he was like laughing a lot and just very cartoony to me.
But they fit with the movie.
Nah, to me, it was way against what Kingpin was.
Yeah, but they were all cartoony. Like they all.
Not to me. It wasn't that way to me, but I feel like it was just a terrible cast. I like Michael Clark Duncan. I just think he's terrible as a Kingpin.
I want to say in the nicest way possible. I thought he was a great black Kingpin. if you're going to talk about how somebody's race is integral to who they are and their experiences make them, like to be black, you've got to have had black experiences, and this whole thing they try to say, you know, Lee, you can't write Prowler because you're not black. I'm so angry they're not going to let me write Prowler. I've got the best Hobie Brown story, 6 issues, kicks ass. People go on and read it. I might just have to repurpose it to my own thing. If who Kingpin is at the age of, say, 45 or whatever, when he comes into contact with Daredevil, and he's this white crime boss, white experiences have built him to be who he is. Michael Clark Duncan can't play that role. He played a really good black Kingpin who had black experiences that got him to a similar spot. So when you look at it like that, he certainly filled the role.
I did get that, but
yeah,
it just wasn't Kingpin. That you're changing the character at that point for me.
Yeah, but Daredevil wasn't Daredevil. Elektra wasn't Elektra. Whatever his name was, like, come on.
Bullseye,
like,
terrible Bullseye.
Movie's a disaster.
Yeah, it was a terrible Bullseye. I mean, Vincent D'Onofrio, that guy nailed Kingpin for me.
They're all great actors and great casted, but the director, that's why I think he's good for what they wanted the Kingpin to be in it. I thought he did a very good job what they gave him. Yeah,
I didn't mean for this to become a who's better cast show. I did not mean for this to roll into this at all. I actually meant for this to it's where we are. Which I'm fine. Everybody's involved, but
why haven't we talked about the hatred of redheads? Every redhead kid's getting casted by a black person. And it's the same
do you want to shift gears entirely and we get back to the X-Men? Pick an X-Men and I'll tell you why they're doing it wrong right now.
Wait,
Pick
what?
one, Kevin. Pick a Kevin. Pick an X-Men, Kevin.
Pick a Kevin. What?
Pick an X-Men, Kevin.
There's only one Kevin.
Wait.
There's only space for one Kevin in our hearts.
Yeah, I couldn't handle more than one Kevin.
That's not true because you love Kevin Hart. So
okay, moving on. X-Men. Pick one.
Wait, you want me to pick an X-Men and you're going to tell me how they're doing them wrong right now in the comics?
Yes.
Okay, well, I know there's one that they are still doing right, and that is X-23, Wolverine's daughter.
Yep.
So suck it.
Gosh, man.
But yeah, I don't.
Is she still Wolverine?
There's people that have theories. I think the X-Men right now aren't the real X-Men. Like when the story's done, I don't think these are the actual characters.
It's
like
a bold
I think
move.
there's going to be because a lot of them aren't like that's not Professor X. I'm sorry. Yeah. Like that's
it's like doing Clone Saga, but with every X character at the same time.
Yeah.
People were outraged when they said, oh, by the way, the Spider-Man you've been reading for the last 20 years, 5 years in their time, but 20 years in your time has been the wrong Spider-Man. It's been a clone, the real ones. But, people people are not happy with that.
Yeah, they lost their effing minds, man.
They did. And they had to walk it back. And I don't know if that was the intent. I don't know if they wanted the outrage and then they're like, haha, psych, or if they were intending to do that and then they saw the reaction and they did like Sonic the Hedgehog, like, we got to fix this. I think they were just trolling. I think they were just saying, like, trying to get people worried and upset and getting.
Yeah,
no, we don't want to go there, Dojo.
At the tops and bottoms. Oh my god.
Kevin Manifesto. But to say that every X character that you're reading right now is not the person the character that you've loved for decades, and it's going to be undone and retconned. And I think I said on the show earlier that I thought that the Moira McTaggart mutant power to do multiple timelines is a great way to give yourself a start over. Like, it's a really smart way to do it. I don't like that it's necessary, but if you got to do it, that's the way to do it. And I feel like
actually like that. Yeah, I actually like that. I feel like Xavier feels totally different to me.
Yeah.
I do love his new look. I love that helmet. I love Cerebro on his face like that. I think it's great. It's cool. And it's a good modern look. But yeah, it just doesn't feel right. And if anybody's read that recent art, it's a weird, it doesn't feel like X-Men to me overall.
Yeah.
It feels like it's something else. Like it's taken on this whole different thing where they're where they regenerate and they're cloned or whatever, and they're like their minds or their souls or whatever it is are stored, and they just keep
their DNA is stored.
Yeah, their DNA. Yeah, but it's not just their DNA because their memories and everything are stored.
But don't have to do memory in your backups. Wasn't the issue that like if you get a backup on the Tuesday and you get killed on the Wednesday, they only get the version of you from the Tuesday. So so I always had this thing as a kid where like it scares the hell out of me if we are the total sum of our memories, whenever I forget something, like permanently, irrevocably forget it, I'm a different person to the person I was before I forgot it. Every time I have a new memory, I'm a new version. I'm a different version of me, because the version of Lee from an hour ago didn't know that Kevin had this bizarre obsession with Tom Holland. So now this version of me is a different...
I like that Lee way better. The Lee an hour ago was way better.
So
man.
the idea
They actually tackled this subject in Eternals.
Oh, okay.
They talk about this in Memories with the character, but because we're not doing spoilers. That's why whoever wrote Eternals, they had a lot of really good things. It's a sci-fi superhero movie. If you
it really is a sci-fi movie. Yeah,
you'll enjoy it. To me,
I agree.
It's leaps and bounds better than Dune. I was so bored watching Dune, and I saw Dune for free. I paid for Eternals. I did not like Dune. People are loving Dune.
Sunk cost fallacy, people. No, I haven't seen Eternals. It might be great.
It is great.
I didn't like Dune that much. The visuals are great, but I think it's just a boring story. So
this is something to hear about. I'll just quickly say about the memories. The idea that if the person who died on the Wednesday is a different person to the person that you get back on the Tuesday, what if between Tuesday and Wednesday you professed your love to somebody and then that person reciprocated, and then that person's, it's not the same person. That person is dead. The Wednesday version of you is dead. It's like
that
Prestige,
happens, That happens in the new X-Men story where
it scares me.
X-23 falls in love with another mutant. He dies when they're in this container, and they're in there for years. So she comes out still in love with him, and he has no.
See, that's terrifies me.
It is terrifying.
It is terrifying. So, and then it sort of says, like, are these issues going to be worth anything? Because, like, okay, when Ben Reilly come back and everyone said he's Peter Parker and Peter Parker's a clone, there's no guarantee they were going to kill off Peter Parker. Like, we got those two characters existing side by side for a couple of years, and they were very different characters that brought different things to the table. You didn't like when Spider-Man fought, say, Venom for the first time, and it was the clone that was doing it, not the original. The mentality was, it didn't matter because it was still that Peter Parker who'd lived through all that stuff. He was his own person with his own memories. He was still a valid character in himself. He wasn't a clone of someone else. He'd become his own person. If the Wolverine right now that's in a three-way with Cyclops and Jean Grey is, if it's not the real Wolverine and they bring Wolverine back, that guy doesn't matter. None of the stories matter. None of the issues matter. The back issues won't be worth a cent. Like, they're not them. They're just meat puppets. Like Ben Reilly was Ben Reilly. He took Aunt May's maiden name and his uncle's first name and become his own person with his own experiences. He goes beyond that. Yeah, so I'm worried that they've got 2 or 3 years of this House of X. What's the other one? House of X.
Powers of X.
Powers of X.
And none of them are going to be worth anything. If they do this big reveal, this big carpet pull,
I think this is just like Age of Apocalypse. That's how this is going to be.
Go back and undo it all.
Well, I mean, but Age of Apocalypse is still very good, and it's still a universe. Like, that's still, like, they can still go there. You know what I mean? It's still they really.
But then you also got like Age of Apocalypse dudes did interact with, they interacted with their version of Captain America, not our Captain America. So when you had that scene of, I think it was Emma Frost on a Storm being a complete bitch to Captain America, who's like, where the Avengers, we go everywhere here to help. We're like, these are mutants, Captain, and we'll only be having mutants deal with mutant problems. Thank you very much, you white colonizer. Get the fuck out of here. But she was being a complete cow to him, which just seems out of, like, Aurora has always been warm and nurturing, and she's like that Mother Africa queen. She brings the rains to the fields of Africa, plains of Africa. That's such an integral part of her. And then when she gets angry and she gets snaps and goes savage, you're like, whoa, she is a weather goddess. She like can upturn this entire continent.
I love it.
I like that she goes off like Gandalf does, where it's like, they're always at peace, always wise, but when you piss them off, you better freaking run. And
it's almost like they go off for your benefit, for like it's like I'm angry on your behalf. I'm going off not because of the affront you gave to me, because I'm too wise to be affronted by your actions, but you put other people in danger, and I cannot tolerate that. And that's when they go off. So that version of Storm's awful. It's not real. The warm African goddess version of Storm is the Storm we love. The one that told off Captain America is just a total bitch. So when they undo this, bring back the real Storm or whatever, that interaction is almost like it didn't even happen, because it's not really Storm who did it. Like,
I think
Age
you're
of
thinking
Apocalypse.
of it wrong. I think this whole thing, even that cap, is not the Steve Rogers of the 616. I think this is a whole different universe.
That could work then. That could work.
That's why I said they're going to treat it. They're going to treat it like Age of Apocalypse, where they might even keep it like an ultimate universe where this still goes, where the mutants rule, but it's not the 616.
Okay, if they
do that's what you can hope, man. I mean, you don't know that. You never know. They may keep it.
It's the only thing that makes sense because there's too many characters that don't act like them. You know what I mean?
Now, here's the thing: didn't the writer jump ship?
Yes.
So
Hickman.
He wasn't even able to finish his story arc.
Well, he said he'll come back. He had like 3 to 5 different story arcs, and when they got to the third, he's like, "Let's go to the fourth," and everyone's like, "No, we want to stay here. We're really happy with the mutants being better than everybody else."
Of course.
So he's like, "Well, I want to keep going." They're like, "Well, for now, we're going to stay here." So I think he'll come back to finish the stuff that he wants to finish. But I think there's this theory that people have that he's actually making the X-Men to be SJWs to show them the hypocrisy of what's happening with cancel culture and the left. And when you think of it, it's like you can make a lot of good points with stuff that's in these story arcs because they come off as dickheads. They come
do.
off as...
And it's very telling that the people are cheering for them. They're like the SJWs who write and consume this sort of comics. Consume, I mean, read it illegally on a pirated website. They don't actually pay for them, obviously. Look at the and this sort of dips into that stuff. EVS talking about the woke money that's making up the income for these guys. Like, they're not without getting into that too much. It makes. I don't know the particulars, but from what I've seen, it makes a lot of sense. It explains constantly on the show with Dean. I'm always saying, what's the end game? How are these guys losing money, losing fans, getting lambasted publicly, and still turning back up with a big smile on their face saying, no, we're going to go woker. I never understood it. EVS's idea is like this final piece of the puzzle, makes the whole thing make sense. But the idea that people who are involved in it are cheering for these characters, say, oh, we love this. We love what we're doing it here. And we're going to keep the characters in this space. And all of us like, this is awful. It's terrible. It's hard to read. The stories don't seem to matter. I mean, I'm only watching Zach's reviews. Admittedly, he's going in there with sort of a negative mindset, but quality speaks. Like, you look at it and you go, I know that
he's a very good reviewer too. Like,
if it's garbage, he's going to say it's garbage. And sometimes he says stuff that I didn't think was any good was good, and sometimes he said, no, he's never said stuff that I like and said it was bad. His movie tastes are about as unusual as mine, though.
He loves Tom Holland like everyone else does, Lee. Like everyone.
Are you trying to unperson me, Kevin?
Man.
He's trying to cancel me, people.
Just wait till Tom Holland is the real Ben Reilly. Then you're going to love him.
Oh, no, never. I'll be in denial.
Are you excited for the Spider-Man movie, Lee? Because I know you kind of bowed out of the MCU, but I didn't know if you were.
Nah. If guys like you guys tell me that it was good and it was worth watching, I'll go back and have a look. The trailer didn't wow me.
Honestly, the idea of what the trailer can be is what's wowing people.
Yeah. And you see stuff with Green Goblin and Willem Dafoe coming back, and all that sort of stuff they're talking about. Like Doc Ock. Like I think Spider-Man 2 is still the best of the 3 Spider-Man movies. It is. It's just, to me, it was the perfect superhero movie at the time. I remember just watching it thinking it doesn't get any better than that, fellas. I don't know, maybe, but this thing I was going to mention is a lot of going back into movies again. When people say what are the best superhero movies, they list like Logan and Captain America: Winter Soldier, and the ones that are like the least superheroic. I'm like, if you're going to say they're the best ones, go over there and talk to the James Bond people or the sci-fi or whatever. Like, that's not really. There's barely superhero. I like the Black Widow, Captain America, Winter Soldier power level, sort of. They're wearing costumes and pageantry, but it's sort of like James Bond's super spy, Brotherhood of Rose. Sure. I like that for what it is, and I write a lot of that sort of stuff. A lot of Company Men exists in that realm, just at a higher power level, so I don't have a problem with it. But if you're going to talk about doing superheroes best, it's like Spider-Man 2. It's like the first Avengers movie, stuff like that. Like big
you like
colors.
Captain America one? Because I feel like he's very superhero in that movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought Civil War was pretty damn good, and Winter Soldier were pretty good, but they're my favorites. But I don't know.
What do you think about Black Panther?
Superhero movie.
Sorry,
no, that's all right.
I totally intercepted you.
Go ahead.
I have a picture, but I feel like they made the Black Panther very superhero, like how he talks, like you know what I mean. Like he's almost perfect. Like he's never even said a wrong. Like even when you think of the decisions he makes, it's almost like kind of like the idea of Superman. Like these are the decisions Superman would make too. Like even when he's like, I'm the king of Wakanda, not the king of the world. Like,
yeah, that's a good line. I've got a line in one of my, I got this character who's like a 1950s, 1960s, like LA Confidential type era, and he's like a pulp vigilante existing in Hollywood in that time. So he's trying to stop, like drug dealers and human traffickers and corrupt cops and that sort of stuff. And it's very grimy, very bloody. And there's a line there he says when he was taken off the streets and trained up to become the Batman of Los Angeles. There's a reason he's on the streets, and that's how he got his powers and stuff. It's the whole thing. But he says, I was, aside from the make and model of every car in the last 10 years, I was also taught to study the dramatic. I was taught, it was all pageantry. He goes, I was taught to study Shakespeare and comic books. Like he says, when I drop down in front of a bad guy and the cape flies out and the stuff that I say, it's equal parts Shakespeare and comic book. And that's what I'm hearing from Murphy with like Black Panther. Like and that's what I'm saying. You talk about Winter Soldier, Captain America. I really like the movie, but it's barely a superhero movie. Whereas maybe I haven't seen Black Panther movie. Maybe
it's more like espionage.
Yeah, you haven't seen Black Panther?
No, I stopped. Civil War was the last one. I stopped. I stopped caring. I got to the
end
of it.
You'll love T'Challa. He is. Oh, he's a perfect superhero.
Yeah,
he's the closest thing to Clark Kent as Captain America is. Wouldn't you say, Derek?
I mean, they did. They nailed him pretty good, I think.
Like he would have been like if they were real people, Clark Kent and T'Challa would be best friends, right?
I don't know. You're talking different
from the rampart nationalism.
Yeah.
No, but you know how characters in comics will have relationships because they're like, like Wolverine and Hercules. They just, they're so much alike.
They're both long-lived, hairy guys that like to fight. Surely they're going to screw.
They're so different, too. Like, not just how Hercules is in Greek, but Marvel's Hercules and him, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah. So look at this real quick. Top 5 superhero movies of all time from each of you. And go.
Wow.
Who wants to take it?
I mean, I feel like Infinity War I can watch anytime and be happy. Like, it's great. So that's got to be in there. Infinity War. Boy, oh boy. I want to think MCU, but I don't want to just. I feel like Dark Knight is great too. The Dark Knight with the Joker. I feel like I can watch that. So I would definitely put those two if I'm going to do 5. Marvel's Infinity War and the Dark Knight are definitely in there.
Not as easy as you think.
I would love to put the X-Men in there, but I can't think of anything that I would say, like I'd even watch again.
That's sort of a metric, just while you're thinking, Kev. That's sort of a metric I use for stuff. People go, what do you like better, this or that? I'm like, I recognize that might be a better, like Choice A might be a better movie, might be technically better, might be more proficient, might have more to say, might be a bigger part of the cultural zeitgeist. But my metric is, which one of these two would I want to watch again? And if the answer is B, then that's the better movie. I watch Roadhouse probably once a month. I love Roadhouse. I can almost quote it verbatim. I love Roadhouse. And I like that. And there'll be a bit there. He walks in and he says, "You play pretty good for a blind white boy." And he said, "Yeah, I thought you'd be bigger." Like it's obviously they've been friends for years. They use the same jive on each other all the time, and that whenever they run across each other, too. I know it. I know what he's going to say. I can say it with the beat. I can say it with the cadence that he says. But every time he says it, I laugh, a big belly laugh, like it's the first time I've ever heard that joke. And I can say that joke, but so for me, it's what would I rather watch more? So
what's funny? I might put Constantine in there. I loved Constantine.
I love Constantine, man. That is such a good movie.
It is.
I was outraged when it first came out because he wasn't British and blonde. But after like the 3rd time I watched it, I'm like, I don't even care anymore. It's so good for what it is.
Right.
And it's another one that I could just watch pretty much any time. If I'm flipping through the channels and Constantine's on, I'm like, I like, Dark Constantine's on. Which one? The one with Keanu, and the demons? She goes, oh, yeah, cool. Let's go watch that. Like, it's always a good watch.
Lee, do you like Last Samurai? Because that is one of my favorite.
Yeah,
movies.
That's excellent.
I think you do like the movies I like. You should definitely watch Black Panther. I think you'd like Infinity War as well.
I've got Black Panther on my hard drive, and it's been long enough that all of the what do I want to say? Hype, and the negative hype too. Like you need to watch this because of these reasons. I didn't want to be told what to do, so that came right after Civil War. Civil War left me feeling a bit cold because Heroes vs. Heroes has got a limited shelf life. And I feel like that's where they're pushing more and more towards. I'm like, why can't we have heroes versus the bad guys? Let's punch Red Skull again.
Yeah.
Let's make punching Red Skull great again.
So
I was a bit down on it though.
I'm sorry, I cut you off. I keep cutting you guys off. I'm so sorry.
We'll get there, man.
Yeah, shut up, Mike. No, I'm just kidding.
I got it on my hard drive. When I get a spare couple of hours, I'll give it a look. I've got African characters, so it'd be good to see how they handle that aspect of it.
So, Crazy Matt, I apologize. I gave you 3 of 5. These other 2 aren't giving you nothing. So,
well, I haven't been able to get a word in edgewise from you, Murph. You keep cutting me off, but hey.
Here we
actually,
go.
One of my favorite. I'm going to tell you, one of my favorite superhero movies of all time is Unbreakable. It's not traditional, but I love it.
So good.
I love the writing of it, and none of the sequels, none of the tie-ins to it. I don't like Glass or any of that bullshit.
I haven't seen it. I didn't need to. When you got perfect one and done, you just don't even touch it.
Yeah,
it's like you balance the Rock Towers. You balance the Rock. You're like, okay, I'm not doing another one.
Yep. They shouldn't have done it because it was so perfect the way it was. I loved it.
They could have done it well, though. They could have.
They just didn't need to. It was so well done. It tied into all the father, like looking up to your dad.
Yeah.
He's a hero. You think of him as a hero, but he's so reluctant to take on that role. It was just so fantastic.
That weightlifting scene.
Oh, just so many things in that movie was fantastic.
The scene where right at the end there, where he slides the newspaper over to him and taps it and says, like to say that was me. That's and he looks at him with just such like disbelief and hope.
Yes.
And, I want to believe, and I'm so scared. I've misunderstood because I'm just a kid. And when he nods to him, like when Bruce Willis just gives that really solemn nod, and the kid, and he's like, "Shh, don't tell your mom." And he's like, "No, I won't. I never will. I'll die before I tell her." And that bond between father and son for the betterment of the mom and the redemption, brother, it's beautiful. It's the best thing he's ever made. It's in my probably.
It is.
My brother rates everything. He's got top 10 everything. He's got like little laminated lists of top 10 movies, top 10 books. I don't do that. But if I was to have to say a top 10 movies, Unbreakable would have to be in there, I think, because it is just that good. And I've watched it a bunch of times.
I like it, but I wouldn't put it in
I agree.
Top 10. I think
it's definitely top 5 for me. It might even be my number 1 only because of the ideals. And
that's crazy.
I mean, I don't know if I could give you the rest because I fluctuate on what my favorite is in the moment. And sometimes movies that aren't even superhero movies are somewhat my favorite because of aspects of it. Like I love The Iron Giant. I know it's a kiddie cartoon, but I think it's like a great take on some of the Superman themes.
Yeah. Well, for a long time, a lot of people said it was the best Superman movie since Christopher Reeve first put on the scene.
Yeah.
The big giant
robot? With that.
Yeah, well, he's got this thing where he sees himself as like he looks up to Superman's example, and he wants to be a hero like Superman. He's seen as a weapon of war, but he wants to be a hero and save people. Yeah, you should if you've got to spare a couple of hours, like it's definitely worth checking out. It's got a great, it'll move you to tears, man. It's a real deal.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it. Is underrated.
That was fun. That's all I want. Like, and it's sort of silly fun too. Like that bit where they're throwing the train at each other, and then you just sort of see the train just sort of go. Like to them, it was this big dramatic.
Oh yeah,
and it's fun for what it is. I don't want all superhero stuff to become twee like that, and I don't want it all to be super gritty, grim Captain America stuff. A nice in between. I mean, even the Raimi Spider-Man stuff there's some pretty dark stuff in there, like dealing with identity and him being threatened and his family being threatened and him losing his powers and that, not being able to protect people. Like there's a certain levity that I don't think probably any superhero has really quite got right since I'm going to say it online since Christopher Reeve was first Superman. There's a level of self-aware levity and wholesomeness that doesn't have the darkness of, say, Raimi Spider-Man and Winter Soldier with, triple agents and backstabbing, but it doesn't have sort of like the goofy over-the-topness of Thor Ragnarok and Ant-Man, which are fun in their own right, and they have every right to exist and you have every right to enjoy them. But when I think about, like, if it's a pyramid, you got Raimi Spider-Man over here, you got Ragnarok and Ant-Man over here, and then you got Christopher Reeve Superman and the wholesome, and then you got sort of Unbreakable in the middle.
Yeah. How is Raimi wholesome where Peter Parker...
No, it's on the dark side of the spectrum.
Well,
it's the dark side of the spectrum.
He spies on the girl next door, watching her get dressed all the time because their windows are from each other.
I mean, like, he's human. It's lame and not something that somebody should be proud of. But I mean, it shows that he's human. It's definitely on the darker side of things because of stuff he's got to deal with.
That's not the response I thought I was going to get from that, Lee.
I remember being a young fella getting off the train and walking towards the steps, and the steps go like that for one floor, turn around and go back up the other way. I would have been, I don't know, 18, 19. And I was walking towards the steps, and I just happened to look up, and this pretty girl was walking up the steps, and you could see her right up her dress, and you could see her knickers. And I'm like 18, 19, and I'm going to be like, aghast? No, I shouldn't be looking at that. Of course I had a look. And you know what? Yep. Probably a half a dozen times after I went to that station, whether it was intentional or whether it was reflex, I'd look up again. I'd be like, wonder if you get another look. Wonder if there happens to be another person. Never happened again. It's a very quiet station. Most of the time, you'd be the only person there.
But on purpose.
It's part of being a young man, young boy.
She could have been teasing him the whole time.
Yeah. I mean, for me, about the movies, I don't know. I change all the time, but I mean, the MCU has some really great things for me. It satisfied a lot of things for me. I do think Winter Soldier was one of the best.
Yeah.
Definitely Captain America movie, but it fulfilled everything from that character for me.
I'm definitely going to
his whole arc. What's that?
Sorry. I keep interrupting you guys. I'm trying not.
Go ahead and say it.
Huh?
Go ahead.
I was going to say I'm going to stand by the 3 movies I said. I really do think those 3, Constantine, Infinity War, and Dark Knight, are 3 I will always watch.
See, I don't put any of the Batman movies up there because they haven't hit fully on for me. None of them have. Nah,
it's not a Batman movie. It's not a Batman movie. You could replace Batman with Al Knight Punch Man and Joker with somebody called Smiley Anarchist, and it's exactly the same movie. There's almost no Batman mythos in there. Oh, Watchmen's good. I love Watchmen. There's almost no Batman mythos. Like he's barely Bruce Wayne. He's barely Batman. He's rich, lazy, bored guy, and he's dark, capey punch man. It's not really Batman. I don't get a lot of. I get more Batman from Michael Keaton than I ever did from Christian Bale, which is a shame because when I watched Equilibrium with my brother as a teenager, seeing Equilibrium, I said this guy'd make a fantastic Batman. He's got the look, he's ripped, he can fight, he'd be such a great Batman. A couple of years later, he's playing Batman. We are freaking out, we're losing our minds. We think it's the best casting call since Hugh Jackman played Wolverine. And then I watched Batman Begins, and I'm like, I mean, it was a thing. They made it. The second one will be better. The second one will be better. And the second one is an excellent movie. And Joker is
a good movie. I'm not going to take away that it's a bad movie.
But you're right. It is more. He's more Bruce Wayne than he is Batman in it because it's all about Bruce's love triangle with Two.
Yeah. To me, they're just not getting Batman right, and that's the most important part for me.
The intelligent detective. Yeah.
And that's why. That's why I'm one of the few people that liked Ben Affleck as Batman, because I felt like, for one, the look of him was just about dead on.
Especially the cartoon Batman.
Yeah, he looked like the animated series come to life. Yeah. I mean, as far as the jawline and everything, like he had it all there. But then he didn't get a good story. So you have the Batman, but you don't have a good story. Same with Superman. Henry Cavill is a great cast as Superman, but he doesn't have the story to go with his cast because, I mean, he looks the part visually.
He really does.
You can imagine him as that character, but he gets a shitty story. So then you're like, what the hell happened? They just can't make it, man. They can't hit the mark.
Which is crazy too, because Man of Steel action scenes were amazing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they were. They were kick ass.
Yeah. Like
I remember watching it, and there's stuff there that that really, like, Superman's my favorite character. So when stuff, Superman media, it affects me, it hits me really hard. Like I said to the missus going, look, I might end up in tears. I don't know. It's been 20 years since Christopher Reeve was Superman. It's been 15 years or 10 years since Dean Cain was Superman. I might go in. This might hit me really hard. Like if I end up crying, you just need to be aware. She took tissues, man, because she knew it was going to affect me. And there's that bit there where he's floating out and he does like the Jesus pose and everything. And everyone's, I understand. Struggling to hold it together. Like it really. and some big stuff there that went really well. But then I walked out of it ultimately feeling, upon reflection, unsatisfied because I just the action scenes are great. The Kryptonians look fantastic. The casting was spot on. There's so much. It's like I had all the pieces of the puzzle, and then Zack Snyder just went and flipped the whole thing, and the pieces went everywhere and said, "There's your movie, people. Am I not a genius?" And I'm like, but you had all the pieces, man. How did you get this wrong?
Russell Crowe being his dad was awesome. How he was.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
I love that. Yes, I love that.
And the only person I couldn't imagine somebody else having the gravitas of Marlon Brando, but Russell Crowe managed to step into those big shoes and fill them completely.
Didn't he,
I'm very happy with his rendition.
Yeah, I love that. And for me, they ruined everything with his Earth dad. The Earth dad is what ruined the whole movie for me. It was off so bad.
When you had a perfect Earth dad from Smallville, what's the old mate who played his father in Smallville?
Yeah,
he used to be one of the
Duke boys.
Yeah,
yeah.
He was perfect. He was always now Clark. You got he's always on point and he always steered him in the right direction. And he never said you have to do this, but he said, "Well, son, you need to consider A and B, but you're Superman. You're going to be Superman. So here's the C." And he made him think beyond his limited choices. He was such a great TV dad, one of the best TV dads, I reckon. And then and then they had Kevin Costner. I mean, Kevin Costner's he's a phenomenal actor. Like he just doesn't.
It was a good cast. It was a great. The cast isn't what did it. It was the writing. When he told him, don't save me from the tornado because somebody might see you. That just ripped me right out of the movie. I went, wait, what?
Yeah, it didn't work on so many levels, on like a physical, like physics level, let alone a ideological one.
Yeah, because he's so fast. They wouldn't even have seen him save his dad. So he could have saved his dad and the dog.
Is that true, though? Because can't you even see the Flash running? Like, you could still see him, right?
Shit, he could have been... The funny thing is...
I say there's a bit in Identity Crisis where only Hawkman can see Flash because he's got bird eyes, because he's got superhuman... And even then, he can only just see like a disturbance in the air, and he's like, that must be Wally, and nobody else in the whole group's able to see him.
For me, it didn't matter because they were basically around a bunch of strangers on the road. They're driving on this freeway. They go up under the underpass to get out of the tornado. I mean, I'm like, he could have hopped away from the tornado.
Soapbox.
Well, it's because he could have hopped away from the tornado so fast. He could have been out of there, and nobody would have seen anything. Nobody would have known.
Pick up the dog and throw it like a football at his dad, and his dad could have went forward away from the tornado.
Yeah. I'm just saying. I just think the whole idea was just ridiculous.
And again,
for him to,
I understand it because the whole movie was about Clark's decisions. That's the whole thing. It was. He was constantly making decisions that were hard for him.
You know what? That's the problem. Clark couldn't have made a decision to let his dad die. It wasn't within him to let his dad die. That's what you're forgetting.
So
that decision to say, I'll obey my father so that he can die, so it'll save me from being exposed to people, is
like
about
the antithesis of Clark Kent.
Exactly. And so the whole premise of Clark is that it's every fiber of his being that he had to save his dad. It would have happened even at the expense of exposing him, because he knew that he couldn't let his dad just die. He couldn't sit there and watch him die. That'd be like he sat there and watched the earth die. He can't do that either.
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to say, because later he has to make the decision whether he's going to let his people come back with the Codex or Earth. He had that choice. Either Earth was going to remain or Krypton would remain. So do you feel like he made the right choice there and just the wrong with his dad?
Wait, say that beginning part again.
So Clark has to make the choice. He's given the choice that he is the Codex to bring back their people within his blood. That's what the general wants from him. But to do that, it would destroy the Earth, because that's what he's trying to do, reform the Earth to make it as Krypton. So Clark had that choice where he could make the Earth be Krypton again with the Kryptonian people, like his original dad gave him the blood to Codex to save their people. So he had a choice of which father to follow again.
Sure.
Like that's the thing too. You're saying his choice was the Superman, but it was the choice of the two dads, the choice of is he Kryptonian or is he human? When he let his father die in the tornado, he chose to be human because it was keeping humanity safe of them not knowing who he was. But, if he saved his father, it'd be him choosing the Kryptonian side.
Okay, but he could choose either father at any time because that's what he had. You know, he doesn't have to, in the moment, only choose one father to be human or Kryptonian.
But that was
what I'm saying?
The whole movie, like even killing General Zod.
Yeah, man.
It's been 2 hours. I got another stream. I got to jump on.
I'm sorry.
2 hours.
Hey, no, it's cool.
I didn't even realize it.
Hey, we only try to go for an hour. That's what.
Hey,
that's our.
You know, I got to go too. My wife was like, "Hey, I got to go to bed tonight." So we've been on here for 2 hours. So, but we're going to revisit this because this movie gets my goat, man. And I don't care what you bring up. It was.
And I bought
it was
Superman's omnibus of Grant Morris's run. So me and Derek are going to read it. And we want you back on Lee to talk about that. Ron.
Sounds good. Let's do that. Yeah, let's make that happen.
Yeah, man. Well, thanks for coming on. We'll let you go ahead and go.
All right, cool.
So it was good seeing you, man. We'll have you back soon.
Excellent. Thanks for a great show, boys. Can't wait and see you again next time. And I just appreciate that we're able to talk about this stuff, respect each other's differences. Yeah, I haven't lost that much respect for Murph being such a big Tom Holland fan. It's fine.
Oh, I've lost all my respect. So you'll get there one day too, Lee.
All Tom Holland is left.
See you, boys.
All right, man. See ya.
Bye.
Okay. No, we're going to revisit, man. We got to because
what?
I can't let that one go. We're going to hit that one again.
Okay. Yeah. It's an interesting. You definitely. It's not like it was just there was a writing thought to it. Now, whether it's right or not is different, but I don't think they just willy-nilly wanted to kill his dad off.
I get it, but at the sake of humanity, he's going to make the choice to stop it because he knows it wouldn't be humanity anymore. But at the sake of his father, he couldn't have let his father die. So those choices can't be pitted against each other. It's not the same choice. It's just not. It can't be the same choice. Superman isn't going to make that choice that way.
Well, remember,
he can't let himself do it.
Him and his dad have that conversation where his dad's like, maybe you shouldn't have saved the kids on the bus.
Yeah, that was a stupid conversation. I mean, when I thought about that conversation, I thought he's putting his kid down for making a good choice.
For saving,
you know, lives. So basically he's saying, don't be a hero unless somebody won't see you. If you're going to be seen, don't be a hero. That makes no damn sense. And that's bullshit. And that's part of what's wrong with, I mean, that goes into society things and everything.
But isn't that the whole point of Clark Kent?
No. Clark Kent is Superman's alter ego.
Well, what's the purpose
that's to live daily life.
Ego? What's the point of him having an alter ego? Because he can't. If he saves his dad, he loses the Clark Kent alter ego.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
People would know that he could move faster.
How many people would know? 3 people would know that we're under that road. That's the problem. It wouldn't have been public. How public could that have been? Like I said, he would have been so fast, nobody would have seen him do it. That's the point, and that's what I think. I think that's a bullshit argument.
Though, right? He can't be that fast that people wouldn't have seen it.
Dude,
wait,
he's just behind the Flash.
It has no idea. It doesn't matter what you see him or not. They would see his dad a mile away, and then with a second, a mile back. It would definitely raise
a mile back. No, he could have taken him home before anybody would have noticed they were gone. I mean, no. I think it's all bullshit. And then the, when you tell somebody not to be a hero, when you tell somebody not to help, that's like saying, not in my backyard. If it happens in my backyard, I don't want it. Or, it's the whole community thing of, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. And those kinds of things are what tie into the whole problem with what's going on with neighborhoods getting shut down. And
so what is the point of Clark Kent? What's the point of him having an alter ego?
Well, for one thing, it's how he identifies with humanity. And I think, too, it's so he can move around, and be normal, quote, normal throughout the day. But I still don't think he would be exposed if he would have saved his dad. So I don't think that argument works. So, hey, Jim, thanks for stopping by. Yeah, we are Chatty Cathy's up in here. That's for darn sure tonight.
Yeah. Well,
we got to get going, man. We're going to have to end the stream. As much as we're having fun, and this is a great argument, we're going to have to revisit this.
Well, yeah, I'm thinking about it as you're talking, but I'm still thinking of what the movie was trying to go for.
I just don't agree with the movie, man. I can't agree with it. I think it was bullshit. It was a stupid thought process.
To me, it makes sense for what they were going for, but you're saying
but it's not. It's against Superman. It's like Lee said, it's the antithesis, and it doesn't work for the character. So that's what's wrong, is they don't get the character, and that's why we bring him up all the time on this segment, because he's always misunderstood. And when you got a true superhero, he can't just sit there and let people die. I remember seeing an accident once, and I couldn't let myself just roll on by knowing there was a car on the side of the road. They were up on these rocks, didn't know if the person was alive or not. I couldn't let myself go by there and not do anything. You know what I mean? I'm not Superman. But could you live with yourself?
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, what would be the guilt you would have after that?
Yeah, you don't just do that. It's not about being a good citizen. It's about knowing in your heart that's the right thing to do, and you do it to help somebody.
Yeah.
You want somebody to help you.
I guess when you put that, like, is there a situation that I wouldn't save my dad if I could save my dad's life?
No, if I had Superman's abilities, there'd be no way. You couldn't stop me.
Well, wait, I'd have to find out what's in my dad's will for me. So,
well, even if my dad said, "Don't save me," do you think I wouldn't try to save him?
Yeah, I agree.
That doesn't work.
I agree that he did not.
That's why it's bullshit.
Okay, let's save this for Lee. Let's save this for Lee, because
well, thank you everybody in the chat. Thank you for stopping by. We're going to end. I know it's been 2 hours. Gosh, we keep getting longer and longer, man. We're just doing it, but
well, you don't shut up.
I know. Please sign up for Ballad of the Celestials on Indiegogo.com. We pinned the link in the top of the chat. We thank you so much for this week, and for last week we had a lot of views. We just thank you for all the new subscribers.
Oh yeah.
And we will see everybody soon.
Make sure to like, subscribe. Anything else? We always forget to do that.
Good. Okay. We'll see you around. Thanks everybody.
Bye.
Bye.